Phoenix Knights. Chapter 407, Father and Son Aligned. Chapter 407, Father and Son Aligned. Oh no, Gu Santong is behind us! Yun Xuan cried at the incoming small red light. With her being the holy maiden and high priest Yun Xuanji's granddaughter, she knew of Gu Santong. He was truly a savage to push even the likes of Zhuofan back. Now watching him dart over, panic overrode everything. Zhuofan only had a wide grin, slowing down and taking a dive for a glade. He put Yun Xuan down and waited for Gu Santong. Yun Xuan looked at him lost. Does he want to measure his fist with Gu Santong again? Gu Santong landed and ran into them. His savage display just moments ago had Yun Xuan shaking, thinking he was now aiming to smash them to bits, but Zhuofan's calm was infectious, easing her worries. This man is that confident in taking Gu Santong's power? Ah! Yun Xuan saw Gu Santong get closer and closed her eyes, not wishing to see Zhuofan pulverized, but the rumble never came. All she heard was giggling. Dad, I miss you! Gu Santong held Zhuofan's neck. Zhuofan patted his back with a quiet smile. Yun Xuan peeked once, then her eyes bugged out. What is going on here? They're on opposite sides. They just threw fists at each other back there, yet now they are kin? If they were so close, why did they do all that show of savagery? Yun Xuan was a pure lady, never able to understand Zhuofan's slick and devious nature at work behind the scenes. All she could do was stare in space. At exemplary parenting at work, Zhuofan brought Gu Santong over with a smile. Xuan, can't you tell? He's my son. What? Yun Xuan wobbled, on the brink of collapse from shock. A great divine dragon, the best in Tianyu, invincible scamp Gu Santong, was his son? That was more than breaking news, that was capital. Even the emperor would be speechless, since they're related. Has the emperor lost it by sending the son after the father? The two can now team up and tear the imperial palace apart. Zhuofan shook his head at the dull Yun Xuan, reintroducing his son. In detail now she realized their relationship. But just now you... Yun Xuan frowned. Zhuofan grinned. I only went with the flow, enacting a little drama for everyone. But I didn't expect the emperor to be on the same page with me. He wanted me to be the scapegoat in this chaos, and I wanted to bear the brunt, breaking the stalemate. What a coincidence we both wanted it at the same time. Otherwise, Yongning's marriage proposal wouldn't happen at the same time as the second prince's. You mean it was all fake? Yun Xuan's heart thumped. Zhuofan explained. Yongning's marriage was an obvious taunt from the emperor. Even if I accepted it, he'd come up with other ways to get a rise out of me and break all pretense. While the second prince's proposal was my idea to break pretenses in my own way. The stalemate would be blown up, with every faction out to get me, but in fact the best stage for each of them to get their share. Oh, I see. Yun Xuan bobbed her head, still phased out. Then what you did to me? An act as well, please don't mind it. It was only to let the others see that I had a perfectly good reason to flip out, or doubts will sprout, making the next phase harder. Zhuofan nodded. Yun Xuan darkened, her heart sinking. She was a pure and unaffected girl, always abiding by her ancestors' teachings, never knowing love, but had fallen to despair when it struck her hard in the form of Zhuofan. Now Zhuofan was telling her that everything was fake and her budding love shattered to pieces. Yun Xuan watched the two giggle away and the bitterness only grew. You're so mean. While you were playing, I was serious. Biting her lip, Yun Xuan grew downcast. Dad, you're out to fight the imperial family, right? But my promise... After a brief moment of joy at the reunion, Gu Santong sighed. Zhuofan smiled, knowing his difficulty. No worries, young Sanzi, you're my son. I won't make it hard on you. You made that promise to the imperial family. I promise you, the imperial family will remain. Only the emperor won't. Yeah, as long as the clan lives, even if Tianyu changes colors, I'd still have kept my word. Ha ha ha, Dad, you're a genius. How come I never realized it? Gu Santong laughed, relieved of trouble. The vow was cooked up just at the end of his altercation with that immemorial sage. With no time to iron out the details, there were plenty of loopholes. Gu Santong was a child at heart, and didn't look into it, while Zhuofan was a weasel, finding a solution in a jiffy. To hell with the promise. when I can just use words to keep it? He had done this so many times, it was practically second nature. Young Sanzi, you've endured a lot. Look how thin you are. They must be starving you. Zhuo Fan rubbed his head, taking out a 7th grade ingredient and offering it with love. Now that Dad's here, you're taken care of. Zhuo Fan had to fish out some good ingredients each time he met Gu Santong, to show the stark contrast in treatments, to drive the wedge deeper, of course, all to pull Gu Santong closer and closer, helping him deal with the imperial family without guilt. See, they are a bunch of meanies, not even giving you 3 meals a day. Come to Daddy, son, I have a full-course meal for you. Help your good dad beat the nasties. It's what they deserve. Everything had multiple perspectives, and under Zhuo Fan's careful egging and nudging, Gu Santong hated the imperial family and loved him more. If only the emperor had known about the two, he'd be giving Gu Santong meals, brunches and snacks, all to foil Zhuo Fan's twisted heart and remove the danger. At the very least, you won't be helping me, but neither will you be tearing me a new one. With Gu Santong being a kid, whoever was better to him got closer. Gu Santong had been eating ingredients for 3 centuries, but they were all 1st and 2nd grade. And through Zhuo Fan's smooth talk, he felt that the imperial family was truly mean to him. As for the vow, Zhuo Fan had an easy time twisting it from defending the imperial family to making sure one of them barely survived, thus crushing their foundation. But it wasn't something a puppet would ever fuss about. Gu Santong jumped in joy, stuffing the deli in his mouth. Dad, I'll help you. You only have to leave one clansman alive and done. Of course. Zhuo Fan's twisted grin resurfaced. Gu Santong threw all those chains tying him to the imperial family that the vow had twisted around him, throwing his lot with Zhuo Fan instead. Yun Shuang sighed. With these monsters together, who in Tianyu can stand up to them? Grandfather's wish is almost achieved. Steward Zhuo can really change fate. Creepy wails came as 4 black clouds flew over. Steward Zhuo, we're here! The 4 black clouds turned into the 4 scheming demons. Violent Demon stuck out his chest. Steward Zhuo, per your orders, we fixed the fight and used young miss and young master. Hi. Can you avoid using the word used? It's all tactics. Zhuo Fan's face twitched, then mocked. You didn't fix it, you did lose. Look, the blood on you hasn't even dried yet. Violent Demon looked down, then at his brothers, and smacked them each once. Why the hell didn't you guys tell me? I'd have washed in the creek we passed earlier. Boss, didn't you miss it too? The 3 grumbled back. Violent Demon was outraged, smacking them again. If I noticed it, what use do I have of you? The trio were even more depressed. Zhuo Fan shook his head. A loss is a loss. It must have been that black captain who did it. He is similar to you, but stronger. Losing is only natural. Steward Zhuo, we could have one, but... Violent Demon wanted to preach on, but Zhuo Fan waved. It's fine. A true loss is better than a fake one for those guys to swallow. You take Schwanger to Wingay City. Young Sanzi, let's go. Where are you going? Can't I come? Yun Shuang asked, grinning. Zhuo Fan shook his head. No, I'm going to get back some hostages. Chapter 408 Terms. Chapter 408 Terms. On a bleak and lonely mountain laid a hidden courtyard. Ling Wuchang sat under a graceful pavilion in the backyard, free to sip at his wine in relaxation. Whoosh. A black figure popped out of the blue facing the old frenemy. Zhuo Fan cupped his hands. Ha, sorry, hounded by Gu Santong, only now did I manage to shake him off. Ha, Gu Santong is all brawn, but it's not easy getting away from him. I reckon Steward Zhuo is the only one in Tianyu who can do it. I'm impressed. Ling Wuchang saluted back. Zhuo Fan looked at the scene of paradise around him, and sighed. Such is Regent Estate. You are even hiding such a refined place on a lone mountain only 10 miles from the imperial capital no one knows about. A true rarity. Of course, with the imperial capital saturated in conflicts and people from all walks of life, intelligence is still of foremost importance. The Regent Estate wants the world, and to do that it has built a secret network. And Steward Zhuo can relax. Not even the Emperor's spies can reach us here. We can talk at leisure. Zhuo Fan nodded, getting down to business. Sir Lung, thank you for your assistance. I presume you have my clan in custody. Where, may I ask, are they now? Zhuo Fan faked curiosity by looking around. How come I don't see them? Lum Wuchang's eyes flashed. Steward Zhuo, you came to me for help to get the Luo clan in Regent Estate's hands by all means, and I've done it. That won't make me your enemy, will it? Of course not, Zhuo Fan said. I told you. Help me in this, and you'll be on my side. But wasn't it something more afterwards? Lung Wuchang smiled. I help you with this, but I am still Regent Estate's steward, working out in Regent Estate's best interests. So even if you don't take me for an enemy, Steward Zhuo, I can't help but do it to you. Raising an eyebrow, Zhuo Fan nodded. Quite right. Then, Sir Lung, are you going to do it like the Imperial family, and use the Luo clan as a hostage to deal with me? Would I? I know Steward Zhuo's style all too well. The lesson at the esoteric debate was more than enough for me, thank you. With our strength, being testy with someone of Steward Zhuo's caliber would be ill-advised. It would only make the Imperial family happy watching both of us suffer, doing all the work for them. How could I do something so monumentally idiotic? Then Zhuo Fan said, Bargain! Leng Wuchang was blunt. Steward Zhuo wanted me to have the Luo clan, thinking it would be far easier to rescue them from the Regent estate than from the Imperial family. The reality is indeed so. We would have never touched such a hot commodity in our lives, even more so keeping them perfectly safe to present them to Steward Zhuo. But giving them just like that is bad for business. I asked that Steward Zhuo give us something in return. Zhuo Fan searched himself puzzled, then spun around. Take your pick? Be it integrity, conscience, or even chastity, you can take anything. Did you even have them to begin with? Rolling his eyes, Leng Wuchang chuckled. Zhuo Fan's brow rose in rebuttal. Who says I don't? I can vouch for my chastity that I have kept safe for dozens of years. Leng Wuchang turned serious. Steward Zhuo, please don't crack jokes. You only need to give us what we want and Luo clan will be safely returned. If you don't, I guess we're at an impasse. Your people can be anywhere by now too. And we will just have to fight one another, waiting for the Imperial family to swoop in, ending with both of us dying. Do I even have something so important on me? Zhuo Fan frowned. He got it from Leng Wuchang that this item was crucial to them, willing to get it even if it meant falling in a trap. It was either get it or die trying, but what could he have that was of such value? Leng Wuchang stared as he emphasized each word. Bodhi root! What? Zhuo Fan cried. Leng Wuchang said. Have you forgotten already? The 8th grade ingredient you swiped from Drifting Flowers Edifices 8 years ago. Please give it to me and I will release them. Unfortunately, I don't have it. Will you take another 8th grade ingredient instead? Zhuo Fan blinked and probed, shaking his head. Leng Wuchang stressed. We need the Bodhi root. We do not care for 9th or even 10th grade ingredients. Zhuo Fan saw his stance unmoving and felt it odd. What is it about this Bodhi root that makes it so unique that it can't be replaced with another 8th grade ingredient? Of course it can't. Leng Wuchang sighed. There's no point in keeping this from you now that all the houses are in a final struggle. Why were we so fixed on Drifting Flowers Edifices? Because it was a house of women, for one, and mostly because their heirloom was Bodhi root. Otherwise we would have just started our expansion with other houses first rather than insist on dealing with some broads and earn ourselves the bad name of picking on defenseless women. Zhuo Fan found him honest and nodded. Sir Lung, I shall be frank as well. I can give you anything but the Bodhi root. It isn't with me. When I took that bauble, it was only to divert Regent Estate's attention from Drifting Flowers Edifices when in fact the item was returned right after. How else could we become allies? Would you become an ally with someone who stole from you? Leng Wuchang nodded. I see. I had considered this as well. Steward Zhuo's answer today has confirmed my guess. Be that as it may, I still need it from you, Steward Zhuo. What are you asking me for? Go take it out of Drifting Flowers Edifices. Zhuo Fan opened his eyes wide. Leng Wuchang mocked. We've been watching them for years, but they treasure the Bodhi root more than their lives. Even if we swallow Drifting Flowers' edifices, we still won't find it. But Steward Zhuo, you, as their ally, can. You want me to swindle them? Zhuo snorted. You just called them my allies. Doing such a thing will ruin the Luo clan's name, cast it out by our allies, standing alone and helplessly surrounded by you. Sir Lung, you never do things half-measure. Ha ha ha, it's not my intention at all. All I want is the Bodhi root. Ling Wuchang spoke happily. This is my condition, all that's left is to see if you will fulfill it. Your men are in our hands, so you can come any time for the exchange. It ought to be easier than saving them from the imperial family's hands. Take your time to think over carefully. I'll be leaving now. Come find me when you have it. Ling Wuchang flicked his sleeve and left Zhuo clenched his fists and was gone as well. The silence returned to the desolate mountain. Whoosh! Zhuo reappeared a mile away among the trees. Gu Santong was bored to death waiting on a branch and perked up at his arrival. Dad, you're back. Didn't you say you'll bring those guys too? Why are you alone? God damn it. That old fox has demands. Cursing, Zhuo said. Young Sanzi, you've met young Miss and everyone. Can't your nose point the way? Gu Santong wiggled his button nose and breathed in. He closed his eyes in focus. He shook his head in the end. Dad, there's no sign of them in 1,000 miles. The old fox sure is cautious. He thought I'd steal the hostages, so he had them moved. He never intended to show them to me. Zhuo spat, his mind spinning. After a deep breath, he came to a decision. I'll just have to go to Drifting Flowers' edifices and take the item. But I won't soon forget this. Snorting, Zhuo flew away. Gu Santong flashed red on his tail. Two monsters were zeroing in on Drifting Flowers' edifices at top speed, to take away their heirloom, the Bodhi root. Drifting Flowers' edifices, a clique of women, was in for some hard times. Chapter 409, True Illusion. Chapter 409, True Illusion. Whoosh! The bright moon and stars were shining down on two shadows flitting left and right. When the moonlight finally graced their features, it was apparent enough who they were. The father and son duo flew at top speed for 2 months to arrive at Drifting Flowers City. Sent down memory lane, Zhuo kept on sighing. Funny how the first time he had come was as a thief, no different from this time as well. And for the same item too. If Yun Xuanji hadn't told him he was outside fate, he'd think heaven was toying with him. Dad, isn't it just an 8th grade ingredient? We can just punch our way in as we search around. Why wait for the night to sneak around? It's bad for my glorified image. Gu Santong grumbled. Zhuo laughed. Young Sanzi, you don't understand. If it were that easy, Regent Estate would have already done it. Drifting Flowers' edifices women are tough. You'll never get anything out of them in 1,000,000 years unless they give it to you. Besides, I don't want to burn bridges with them. Zhuo sighed, looking at the tall building, lost in his memories. Rolling his eyes, Gu Santong whispered, How are you supposed to do that when you're forcing them to tell you where's their treasury? Hee, you ignorant lad, have you forgotten your dad's latest trick? Let me refresh your memory. Zhuo unfolded the sea phantom wings in the sky, their blue glow shining brighter in the moonlight. The disciples patrolling the Drifting Flowers' edifices looked above in shock. Zhuo then flapped and blue rays sprinkled down on the disciples, making them fall unconscious. Zhuo flew around the Drifting Flowers' edifices, getting every disciple lost in the mesmerizing blue illusion pa. The guards outside a door collapsed and grandmother, who was in cultivation, frowned. Xiao Yu, what's wrong? What she saw was a hazy blue glow outside the window. Grandmother opened the door, on high alert. A buzz entered her ears and she shuddered. She stepped out and looked around. It was quiet with the exception of the missing Xiao Yu at the door. Where did the child run off to? Grandmother wondered. A cry and some footsteps approached. Grandmother, someone stole the Bodhi root. What? Grandmother froze, watching Iris Overseer rushing with a group of disciples. Tell me quickly. No one knows where Bodhi root is hidden. How can someone steal it? Grandmother, it's true. The person wore a black robe, holding in his hand the Bodhi root. I was just sending disciples to chase. Iris Overseer panted. Grandmother continued. Calm down. Have you seen it clearly? Are you sure it was the Bodhi root, or is it just some ploy to dupe us with a fake then steal it? Grandmother, it's real. I saw it with my own eyes. I also checked its hiding place and it was open. Iris Overseer was panicking. Grandmother nodded. Let's check it out. They all surrounded her to protect as she ran, yet there was only a single person behind her. And in his eyes, Grandmother was running by herself, with no disciples and Iris Overseer around at the person's feet. However, was Xiao Yu, unconscious. Dad, is that woman sleepwalking? Why is she monologuing? Can't she see us? Gu Santong waved his hand in front of Grandmother with 3 golden halos flashing in his right eye. Zhuo snickered. This is your dad's divine eye of the void's 3rd stage, Mirage World. She is trapped in my illusion without her knowledge. Through the illusion she will lead us to the Bodhi root. We will just take the ingredient, leave her unconscious, and no one will be the wiser. They'll blame the Regent estate, of course, and we would be free of charge, still allies, he. Dad, you're so devious. Though, that eye of yours is awesome. We haven't seen each other for so long, and it's already on the 3rd stage. Gu Santong giggled as he made faces in front of Grandmother. Zhuo smiled for dumping the trouble on another and added, Young Sanzi, this hag is more than what meets the eye. She walks behind everyone else, watching everybody's footsteps and where they're going, to avoid having some stranger among them wishing to find out their secret. But this illusion is built from her mind, containing every person's conduct and gait. How could there be any gaps? No matter how careful, she won't find anything. Gu Santong nodded next to him. These people are so cautious. If it were me, I wouldn't be thinking so much about it. That is precisely why you fell for that promise 300 years ago. These people are not your match, but each shrewder and wiser than your entire lifetime. Zhuo spoke at liberty. Gu Santong fell silent. He had 2 reliable fists there. Even if he wasn't subtle, who'd still mess with him? Grandmother led the 2 to a clear pond. She made a sign and with a shout, she pointed at the pond. The water stirred, shirking to the side and revealing a cave. The 10-meter-tall copper gates rumbled open with another special chant. Zhuo cried not in a million years would he figure out that the Bodhi root was hidden here. No one would ever think to search here. The trio walked deeper into the cave. With Grandmother disarming any trap, array or mechanism put in place, they arrived at a stand in the middle of a small room holding a box. Opening it revealed the Bodhi root. Zhuo would never forget the sweet fragrance and green glow. Got it. Zhuo and Gu Santong giggled, but Grandmother only saw an open case and shuddered back in fright. It's gone. Dad, knock her out. Gu Santong nabbed the box. Grandmother still didn't notice. Zhuo sighed and nodded. Sorry, Grandmother. Before he could, Grandmother wept. Qingqing, I'm sorry. You told me to look after Drifting Flowers' edifices before leaving, but I couldn't protect our precious heirloom. Rumble. Zhuo palm stopped in doubt. Chu Qingqing isn't in seclusion? She left? Grandmother, don't feel sad. Qingqing will be gone for a short while. She'll be back soon. The Iris Overseer's illusion spoke. Grandmother shook her head, lamenting. She won't come back. To save that Shui girl, she made a deal with Mystical Heaven's sect leader. I know for certain she will not come back. And I couldn't even fulfill her final wish. His brow trembling, Zhuo heart tensed now that he thought about it. The anchoring soul bead used to save Ninger couldn't have come from Drifting Flowers' edifices, a mere house. Chu Qingqing had made a pact with the Mystical Heaven sect to get it the same way he made a deal with demon scheming sect Xiaoyue. But why did she do it? Saving Ninger had nothing to do with her. Why sacrifice herself? Zhuo felt pain in his heart. His hand trembled, but he couldn't bear to strike. Dad, what is it? I'll do it if you can't. Gu Santong saw him just standing there, and thought of helping Pa. Zhuo grabbed Gu Santong's hand, who was now looking at him oddly. Whoosh. His right eye's halos vanished, and the mirage world fell apart. Grandmother woke up from the illusion, and turned to the 2 in shock. Seeing the Bodhi root in his hand, she was stunned. Zhuo, we're allies. Why? Grandmother, chaos is about to spread across the lands. Take everyone in Drifting Flowers Edifices to the Luo clan. I promise to protect you. As for Bodhi Root, I'll be taking it. He pulled Gu Santong, and with a flash of a golden halo, they were gone. Only a distraught grandmother was left behind. Gu Santong was even more perplexed. Dad, why did you show yourself? I didn't want to lie. Zhuo Fan sighed, flying with Gu Santong further away. Chapter 410, Regent Estates Intent. Chapter 410, Regent Estates Intent. Whoosh. Deep in the woods of a mountain, a lofty and stylish manor rested. A man with a head full of white hair blowing in the wind and full of savage power, flashed the two profound heaven experts standing guard, jerked and bowed. Pardon us, but are you Steward Zhuo? Zhuo Fan only looked at the manor. You guys sure have plenty of hideouts, even out here. Take me to Ling Wuchang. A month ago, when he had just obtained the Bodhi Root, Zhuo Fan contacted Ling Wuchang through a jade slip for the exchange. The old man had seen it coming and told him to come here. This place was close to Drifting Flowers City, merely 100 miles from it. He only needed 2 hours to reach it, but Ling Wuchang was slower, getting here only today. Sir Ling is waiting. Please follow me, Steward Zhuo. A profound heaven expert was an elder in any clan, enjoying respect and awe. Only with Zhuo Fan, it was the other way around. With them bowing and making way, Zhuo Fan walked behind him, passing many pavilions, and after twists and turns, they arrived at a garden where Ling Wuchang was waiting. Ling Wuchang greeted the cold Zhuo Fan. Ha ha ha, as expected of Steward Zhuo. You got Drifting Flowers Edifices treasure so fast, impressive. Humph, tone down on the theatrics. You already knew I'd get it and got ready after I left. It took me 2 months to reach Drifting Flowers City from the imperial capital, while you took a month? Zhuo Fan flicked in disdain. Ling Wuchang nodded. Ha ha ha, yes, it's as you say. I rushed here as fast as I could after you left because I believed Steward Zhuo is a professional. That a mere Bodhi Root couldn't escape your grasp. It would be a sin to delay the exchange, not with Steward Zhuo wrought with worry over the Luo clan's safety. Enough, I said. I can see you're impatient to get the Bodhi Root as well. Zhuo Fan's hand flashed, tossing a box around. I just don't get why the Regent estate is so hung up over this thing. Doesn't it only do wonders for your complexion? Ling Wuchang's eyes never left the box, flashing with greed. Steward Zhuo, you don't need to concern yourself with that. Just hand it over and I will deliver the Luo clan down to the last man. This way, our deal will be finished. That is all you should be interested in. Zhuo Fan gave him a deep look and then grinned. Right, it's just a deal. It has nothing to do with me. Why you need it anyway? Pa. The box opened and a green root with a sweet fragrance was revealed. Its throbbing vitality overwhelmed Ling Wuchang, his chest moving with excitement. Where are they? Zhuo Fan asked, licking his lips. Ling Wuchang took a deep breath to calm down. Steward Zhuo, we all know of your skills. If I hand them over, you'll just take this item with you and I'll be powerless to stop you. Pa. Zhuo Fan closed the lid and spoke with impatience. Sir Lung, what is it that you want? Are you going to take this and not return my people? Oh no. No! You've got it all wrong. I only mean that I can't give them to you here. Because Steward Zhuo is too dangerous, changing moods faster than the wind. I have to come prepared. Ling Wuchang smiled. To be quite frank, I already had them sent back to Wingei's city. All you have to do is hand that over and I will have a sending jade tell them to release them. Zhuo Fan's brow twitched slightly, knocking on the table in thought. If I just give it, you won't release sh*t. How could I not? With Sir's magnificent display on Beast King Mountain, I've since lost all intention of inciting your ire. Compared to your current treacherous ploy, Steward Zhuo who measures every step before taking it, I am more afraid of the Steward Zhuo hell-bent on revenge. It would bring no good to anyone. Ling Wuchang waved his hand in a rush, fear streaking his eyes, recalling Zhuo Fan's psychotic breakdown back on Beast King Mountain. Zhuo Fan sighed in the end and handed the box over. I hope, for your sake, that Sir Ling holds up his end of the deal. Holding the box with a trembling hand, feeling the oozing vitality, Lin Wuchang nodded and sent a jade. Steward Zhuo, I'm a man of my word. With a gesture, the jade slip flew away. Zhuo Fan nodded and stood up. With the deal complete, I shall be going. I need to see if the young miss and the others are safe. If any harm has come to them, humph. Sir Lung, we'll be seeing each other again in Caged Dragon City. Zhuo Fan vanished. Ling Wuchang was left alone with a heavy look. He did fulfill his end of the deal and didn't even so much as leave a scratch on the Luo clan. But Zhuo Fan's cold smile left him shuddering. Not even an honest-to-God man could keep a straight face on meeting Zhuo Fan. He is a savage like the rumors describe him. Such power, such dignity, it's not something everyone has. Ling Wuchang sighed. A rough voice broke him out of his thoughts. Sir Lung, do you have it? Huangpu Tianyuan walked over. Ling Wuchang made a deep bow, presenting the box. Congratulations, Estate Lord, we have it. Huangpu Tianyuan opened the box and shuddered in glee. Ha ha ha, at long last I can train the earth-ranked martial art, 9 Dragons Diamond Body. Indeed, Estate Lord. We are weaker than the Imperial family, but stronger than Luo clan. Yet we can't compare when it comes to the quality of their experts. The Imperial family has Gu Santong while the Luo clan has Zhuo Fan, freaks of nature capable of fighting thousands. To take these lands for ourselves, we need to defeat those monsters. With the Estate Lord training in 9 Dragons Diamond Body, your power will double. Heaven is smiling on the Regent estate. Ling Wuchang praised. Huangpu Tianyuan was pleased, but then sighed. A shame that 9 Dragons Diamond Body needs 9 dragon souls to reach its peak. Especially the last one to become ethereal. But that dragon soul is with Zhuo Fan, a true shame. Sir Lung, why didn't you set the dragon soul as a condition of the deal as well? Estate Lord, please restrain your greed. You know his temper just as well. If we push him too much and he flips, we are not prepared to take him, and we will suffer greatly from it. Moreover, the dragon vein soul is a savage being. Even when the eldest young master's fate arrived, he could only subdue one. With the Estate Lord being able to use 8 souls to train yourself, the pain will be excruciating. Only through the use of Bodhi Root's vitality will it be an assured success. Ling Wuchang advised. Sir has yet to even gain the diamond body, and wouldn't be able to support so many dragon souls. What is the point of taking back the 9th soul? We should wait for Sir to train in it, and then look for Zhuo Fan. Huangpu Tianyuan still believed that he would never train it to peak because of one missing dragon soul, though he understood Ling Wuchang's logic as haste made waste in many cases. It would be better to use the other 8 first. As for the 9th dragon soul, humph, Zhuo Fan, you just wait. I will be coming for that last one. Huangpu Tianyuan snorted and sighed. Filled with battle spirit, none of them noticed a red flash beneath their feet 20 miles away. Zhuo Fan leaned on a tree, waiting for the red flash to enter his body. His blood infant, when he left, he had blood infants slip underground. Tuning in on their designs for the Bodhi root, he had never guessed that he'd find out so fast. 9 Dragons Diamond Body. Zhuo Fan grinned. So using the 9 dragon souls to train, that old fox Huangpu Tianyuan can step into the ethereal stage from peak profound heaven stage. That'll be dangerous. How convenient that I have 1 dragon soul from the set, or I'd never have let go of the Bodhi root. They won't come knocking any time soon. Not before finishing their training, that is, hee hee. Snickering, Zhuo Fan glanced next to him. Young Sanzi, let's go to Allbeast mountain range. On an ingredient hunt? Gu Santong lit up with a vague smile. Zhuo Fan only shook his head. Chapter 411, 9th Level Spiritual Beast. Chapter 411, 9th Level Spiritual Beast. Roar! In the serene forest, a cry sent the birds scrambling away. A flaming winged beast with huge eyes darted out of the forest in panic and fear. It was shaking from head to toe, frantic and flapping its wings even through the dozens of trees to get out. Stop right there, I said. Now, before you make it worse. A childish voice came from behind, yet oddly overbearing. Sweating all over, the spiritual beast wheezed, its wings going faster. It believed the angelic voice was that of a reaper, coming to drag him back to hell. Stop. Are you touched in the head? That's asking for me to sit still as you cut me up. Whoosh! A red flash came from behind, smacking him so hard, he folded. Its eyes turned white as it hit the ground in a 100-meter-wide crater. As the dust settled, the spiritual beasts nearby scattered in panic. Only the large beast remained, out cold and battered, as a small figure landed on top. Gu Santong's only reaction to the pitiful backbroken spiritual beast was, "You just don't know when to quit. I told you to stop, but no, you just had to make me do it. How dumb, I don't want your life." Gu Santong walked onto its back, grabbed the wings and tore them off. Blood gushed like a waterfall, but the spiritual beast only jerked, still out cold, which was probably for the best. Seeing so much blood bubbling out of it would have left it crying, "Sweet Jesus Christ, you don't want my life, but my wings. How is a flying spiritual beast without its wings any different from a cripple? And you still ask me to stop? Who the hell makes those kinds of demands like it's the order of the day? What could it do?" The strong worked in savage and cruel ways with the wings in his ring. Gu Santong counted on his fingers, including this 4th-level spiritual beast's wings. That should add up to 80. "I wonder how's Dad doing?" Gu Santong jumped up in the air and was gone. Only the crippled spiritual beast was left, its eyes rolled up in their sockets and blood flowing down its back like a river. It wasn't long for this world, that's for sure. Meanwhile, in a clearing, 3 5th-level spiritual beasts were shivering from fear. Zhuo Fan strolled towards them, his eyes cold and a faint azure flame flickering on his forehead. Sure, they'd fear Zhuo Fan just the same, even without that gimmick, but not enough to lose even their fight or flight instinct. "You three, turn around." Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed. The spiritual beasts looked at each other through tears and turned. How could a man have such power to rob them of the will to even flee? The air around him was obviously from a big boss of theirs. Zhuo Fan snickered, touching the azure flame. Without this baby here, he'd be out there wasting time chasing these beasts to and fro. Now he could even order them to die and they'd line up on the precipice, plunging to their doom like second nature. Going behind one spiritual beast, Zhuo Fan's mouth twisted in a smile. Touching its wings, the victim trembled and sweated. What came next was a tearing sound, a pain so excruciating, it wailed in tears. All while the blood on its back gushed freely. "Now beat it!" Zhuo Fan snapped. The spiritual beast dragged its pitiful and gimp body in remorse deeper into the woods, leaving a thick trail of blood. As for the other 2 spiritual beasts, seeing their buddy's woeful fate, they were shivering harder, pleading Zhuo Fan with their big puppy eyes. They were majestic 5th-level spiritual beasts, pack leaders in the Allbeast mountain range, but now their wings were plucked off by a mere human. Oh, the humanity! What could they do? This guy had that wavy blue thing making them docile as puppies rip. With another 2 ripping sounds, the mournful cries of the spiritual beasts echoed out into the blue sky with Zhuo Fan behind them waving them off. The spiritual beasts went on the same road as their brother, weeping and deflated in their slow steps into the forest. Only the horrifying trail of blood was testament to the gruesome torture. Zhuo Fan put the wings away. He was one step closer to his goal. On his way to resume the harvest, a red flash came in the form of Gu Santong. "Dad, I got around 80 pairs. What about you?" Gu Santong stuck out his flushed face. Zhuo Fan smiled, his brows going up and down. "Around the same, 235. "So many?" Gu Santong sulked. "Dad, you're so mean. I have to chase those spiritual beasts each time while you just use that azure flame to have them sit still. How am I supposed to win like this?" Gu Santong pouted and stomped. "This game has been going on for 3 months now." What he thought to be a search for herbs turned into plucking wings, and in him losing all interest, Zhuo Fan made it a challenge, saying he'd give him 10 8th-grade ingredients if he gathered 1,000 pairs of wings first. That had him going around the mountains in excitement, but when the race started, he found out that Zhuo Fan had a secret weapon, making the entire mountain range's spiritual beasts listen to his orders. In the first 2 weeks alone, Zhuo Fan had already overtaken him. His hopes of winning were dashed. He had the strength, but Zhuo Fan had the azure flame which could line up the beasts for the culling. Zhuo Fan saw through him and smiled. "Young Sanzi, how about this? I still need to get 1,000, but you win if you can get 300 before me." "Really?" Gu Santong's eyes sparkled. better keep your word. I'm going. But then he came right back in the next moment, asking coyly, Dad, what do you need all these wings for? Did you get bored of yours and want to switch them up every day? You're like the maids in the Imperial Palace. They switch jewelry just like you. I am no woman to have that vice. Zhuo Fan's face twitched. Now go do your thing. You'll find out in the evening. All right. Gu Santong left shrugging. He only cared about the prize anyway. He had no curiosity to know what Zhuo Fan's use of the wings was who. But before he could give more chase, a hurricane blew over them. Sand and rocks blew away as a black cloud loomed over Allbeast mountain range. The next moment, a 300-meter-long, three-headed black bird swooped in its powerful wings, sending sharp winds, able to crush even stone. Zhuo Fan cried. 9th level spiritual beast, three-headed crow. What's it doing here? This is only the 6th level spiritual beast's domain. Dad, can we use its wings? Why don't we pull them off? Gu Santong proposed. Zhuo Fan disposed. Young Sanzi, behave. This spiritual beast is powerful enough to go on a rampage in the sacred domain. Us two are no match for it. Zhuo Fan's heart shook and he gulped. He never dreamed that mortal domain could have such a spiritual beast. He knew Allbeast mountain range went deeper still, having areas the 6th level spiritual beasts didn't dare cross, that those areas were holding a terrible being. Not even he thought of exploring it. Allbeast mountain range was a bottomless treasure vault which he wouldn't dare open before he had the power to do so, but the guardian of that treasury had caught him with his pants down. Dad, can't your azure flame do the trick? Gu Santong reminded him. Zhuo Fan recovered at last. How the hell did I forget? And deployed his trick the instant that flame came out into the open. The three-headed crow stopped, with all its heads fixated on him. There you are! Each head had an azure flame too. Zhuo Fan was rendered speechless. Chapter 412, Allbeast Mountain Lord. Chapter 412, Allbeast Mountain Lord. Oh my god, that thing has the azure flame too, 3 of them on top of it. Zhuo Fan looked like he was choking on a fly. He had a monopoly on the azure flame so far, with Allbeast shuddering at his feet. Then this 9th level spiritual beast came along bearing the same majestic power, thus making him immune to his flame. In the face of such might, he was nothing but a foot soldier who, flapping those heaven-reaching wings, it drew closer to the pair, casting a huge shadow over them. Gulping, Zhuo Fan was sweating now. Was it you who has been hunting the flying spiritual beasts? Three-headed crow's eyes were on him, but only the middle head spoke. Zhuo Fan's forehead was sweating buckets. The 9th level spiritual beast has such intelligence that it can speak. This is going to be hard. Such a mind was not like those brutish spiritual beasts. It was far harder to outsmart and escape. Gu Santong cut him off before Zhuo Fan could say anything, shouting proudly. That's us. What about it? Oh no, don't listen to a little child's nonsense. We're not killing anybody, he. Covering the kid's mouth, Zhuo Fan wiped his brow with a smile. His heart was sinking further and further for the three-headed crow to ask about the hunting. He must have come to settle the score, no doubt. His best option was to drag it out, lie and cheat while waiting for the perfect moment to flee for their lives. Who in their right mind would ever admit? Young Sanzi is still so innocent. Compared to those foxes in Tianyu, he was as crude as the beasts in the Allbeast mountain range. The three-headed crow's heads exchanged looks and nodded. It found the azure flame on Zhuo Fan familiar. Yes, it's you all right. Come, my master wants to see you. Master? A 9th level spiritual beast has a master? What kind of a monster does that make him? Zhuo Fan licked his dry lips, his mind out of commission. The tiny Tianyu Empire in the plain mortal domain was hiding such a secluded monster. It has to be seclusion, or his lordly self wouldn't send a three-headed crow on errands otherwise. Who could beat that? More importantly, where does he come from? Zhuo Fan sank in thought and his eyes flashed. He looked at the azure flames on the three-headed crow and nodded in understanding. Humph, you think this young master will see him just because you say so? Who do you take me for? Gu Santong knew he was no match, but his pride wouldn't allow any retreat. Like his heart was telling him that lowering his head in fear before the 9th-level spiritual beast was a disgrace. He was like a nobleman, always holding his little head high. The three-headed crow was curious instead of angry at Gu Santong's bratty temper, and in fact lowered its head in respect. "Forgive me, young master! As the master ordered, I have to take you with me, even if by force. Do you see the azure flame on my head? Master bestowed it to me so I could contend with you and the gentleman. Please don't force me. I do not want to harm you. I'd like to see you try. Ever since I remember, I've only relied on my trusted fists. No one has overcome them ever. I'm not afraid of you." Gu Santong rolled up his sleeves, but Zhuo Fan stopped him from starting a fight. Mulling over in his head, Zhuo Fan nodded. "All right, we will see your master. Lead the way. It is quite far from here. Please get on my back. I will take you." The three-headed crow leaned in and Zhuo Fan hopped on along with Gu Santong. Gu Santong was still grumbling. "Dad, isn't this admitting defeat? It'll make me look bad. Ha ha ha, how is this a defeat? The other party is only inviting us. Though it is compulsion, it was with respect. We have to go. It's like knowing when to face reality and accept the facts. We'd have to go even if we didn't want to, but the difference in attitude would have been worlds apart. With such an obvious gap in strength, rather than setting oneself up for humiliation, taking a step back is recommended." Zhuo Fan smiled. "Besides, your dad is curious to see the mystery expert. I have some questions that need answers." Zhuo Fan flicked his finger and the azure flame shone above it, reflected in those deep black eyes of his. "Hold on." The three-headed crow flapped its massive wings, carrying them into the heavens above. That simple, yet wide movement, changed the perspectives of Zhuo Fan and Gu Santong in a blink, finding themselves in a foreign area. Does he have a teleporting skill like Dad's divine eye of the void?" Gu Santong looked around at the new area he was in. Zhuo Fan shook his head. "Spanning thousands of miles, it covers the moon and holds the sky. A famous saying in the sacred domain, describing one of the 5 great sacred beasts, the vaulting Kunpeng's incredible power. In one flap, it crosses 9,000 miles. The three-headed crow, a being of the vaulting Kunpeng's bloodline, is not as impressive, but it can still cross 100 miles. That was no teleportation, but pure speed." "SSS." Gu Santong gasped, amazed at the huge bird. "You're actually so cool? That's why I told you we can't win. I can blink away, true, but only a couple miles at most." Zhuo Fan patted Gu Santong's shocked head. The three-headed crow's lively tail betrayed its good mood even with the frozen expression as it humbly said, "You're too kind. Such a parlor trick is nothing to you, young master." The crow flew deeper into the Allbeast mountain range. The spiritual beasts along the way saw their eldest brother passing and lowered their heads in homage. Even 9th-level spiritual beasts, even the hunting spiritual beasts paused to show their respects. This was the power it had here, mainly because of the azure flame. For the azure flame to drive fear into the 9th-level spiritual beasts as well, that means. Zhuo Fan squinted. Glancing around, he saw the king of beasts, a 6th-level spiritual beast, being preyed upon and causing a startling scene. What came even more as a shock was how the mortal domain had a place with so many high-level spiritual beasts. It begged the question, who controls this horde? What kind of being is he? Zhuo Fan was looking forward to this meeting. An hour later, the three-headed crow landed on a tall mountain covered in thunderclouds. A pitch-black cave faced the Allbeast mountain range, like an ever-watchful black eye on these lands. "That is my master's residence." Zhuo Fan looked at the cave, at the savage beasts behind them, and sighed. The only way to get here was on the three-headed crow's back. It only took us an hour. Despite the distance with the two's top speed, it'd take them half a month. The biggest shock was the sheer size of the Allbeast mountain range. This area was more than half of the entire range, the true Allbeast mountain range. "Master is waiting for you. Please go in." The three-headed crow left with one last polite urging. Zhuo Fan and Gu Santong nodded. Stepping into the cave, the two were intrepid men. Come what may, we're ready. He wouldn't get to beat them, that was for sure, even if the guy wanted them dead. so it was best to go in headlong, but since he had sent a three-headed crow to guide them here, he ought to be nice. Probably the two put their game faces on who. An azure frame flared to life, shining the entire cave. The blue glow revealed a throne, and sitting on it was the familiar figure Zhuo Fan saw in his dream. He was a stout middle-aged man in azure garb. He had a sparse beard and a creepy grin. "Ha ha ha, my boy, we meet again!" "You!" Zhuo Fan smiled back. Meanwhile, 1,000 meters below Cage Dragon City, in a huge space, a peculiar array was engraved on the floor. 9 golden dragons 3-meter long lay in a pattern around it. The golden chain coming from their mouths binding them to the array's center, ripples of power were released from that center, constant and heavy. If the Venerables gathered, nothing untoward will happen when the array is unsealed. Ling Wuchang stood outside the array in worry. Huangpu Tianyuan held a green root, a manic glint in his eyes. "Humph, if those geezers knew we had the Bodhi root and can train in the 9 dragons' diamond body, they'll say the house interests come first and select the best candidate to train in it. They would have had Huangpu Fonlei train here and threaten my position. With me moving behind their back, it will soon be too late. Even if they discover, and they will ultimately obey my word. Regent Estate's strongest and estate lord will ultimately be me, ha ha ha. Nonetheless. No hesitation, Sir Ling. Begin!" Huangpu Tianyuan cut off Ling Wuchang's worry. Ling Wuchang sighed and his hands moved whoosh. In a flash of gold, the 9 dragons pulled on the chains to reveal a bright cave releasing dragon roars. Huangpu Tianyuan was thrilled with every step, rushing inside. The glowing cave mouth was soon sealed back as the chains moved. Only Ling Wuchang was wrought with worry, looking at the calmness. If Huangpu Tianyuan couldn't master the skill, the seal would break and the 8 dragons would crush even Venerables. The dragon-veined souls would rain havoc. Chapter 413, Vaulting Kunpeng. Chapter 413, Vaulting Kunpeng. "Thank you, Senior, for all the times that you saved me." Zhuo Fan made a full bow after finding out he was the Azure Flame person back then. The man sneered. "Ha ha ha, boy, I only saved you that one time from a wolf pack. Since the Senior has granted me the Azure Flame, Junior has used it many times to save himself. It is the same as Senior lending a hand. I will never forget such a favor." Zhuo Fan bowed again. The man stared Zhuo Fan down, though uncaring if he was sincere or not. "It's fine, I won't be asking for payment. Why don't you take it out for me to see it?" Zhuo Fan froze, unsure what game he was playing, but with his immense strength, Zhuo Fan would never win, choosing to play along. He put out his finger and an azure glow burst out. The man looked stunned at the flame, then sighed. "I thought as much. You refined it. Kid, you sure are lucky." "What do you mean, Senior?" Zhuo Fan probed the man's side. "The azure flame is my innate possession, connected with my mind. When I gave you the azure flame, I could see everything you do." Zhuo Fan's heart tensed and his eyes darted around. "That's like having constant surveillance." The man chuckled at his obvious thoughts. "Kid, you're too cautious. What use would I have of someone as feeble as you? I was only watching out for you in case of misfortune and to send someone to your rescue. Please don't twist my goodwill." Zhuo Fan's heart shuddered at his warning. The man resumed. "Yet not long after you got it, you refined the azure flame, cutting off my connection. It can only mean 2 things. You either threw it away, something monumentally difficult for someone like you, or you combined it with your body on the deepest level, which is even more unheard of. It has been a problem that's been plaguing me for years, but now I see you really have done it. Kid, you are quite lucky to have it. I wonder which Grand Master you are under?" Zhuo Fan shuddered. "The guy hails from the sacred domain, no question about it, and is at least a saint. Better err on the side of caution and be brief and short." He knew about the Blood Infant and Patriarch Blood Demon, yet still showed no ill will. So he has no ties with Patriarch Blood Demon. Saying I am his descendant should be a safe bet. Zhuo Fan cupped his hands. "Greetings, Senior. I come from Sacred Domain, Patriarch Blood Demon's descendant." "Cut the crap!" the man lashed out. Patriarch Blood Demon was strong, but only a saint who ever cared about his Blood Infant research. The skills I saw you use 9 years ago were too intricate to be from anyone under an emperor. Speak! Which one of the ancient emperors is your master? Zhuo Fan trembled. The guy's eyes were sharp and insidious. Just from that array 9 years ago he could tell Zhuo Fan's master's level. There's no way a pushover knows about the 10 ancient emperors and Patriarch Blood Demon. And since he lives surrounded by beasts, it's king even, maybe. Zhuo Fan's sweat flowed harder in front of this guy. He was less than an ant, of no value whatsoever. The man saw him silent and sneered. Kid, I've roamed the world all my life and seen everything. You may not say it, but I can still guess it. Those pills and arrays you used were as marvelous as they were rare, yet you are also masterful in the heinous blood infant. The only emperor in the world who is so knowledgeable and a secret art hoarder is that old freak 9 Serenities. Shuddering harder, Zhuo Fan was in a panic in just one guess. The man had found out everything, and that too merely from watching him use the arrays. The guy had to have ample experience that even the demonic emperor couldn't compare to. I am in awe of the senior's gaze. Zhuo Fan made a deep bow. I am indeed 9 Serenities' emperor's successor, but I never had the chance to meet him. Ha ha ha, that would be close to impossible. I reckon he already went to the underworld and became a ghost by now. The man shook his head. In the times of the 10 emperors, each had his unique skill. Heavenly Emperor's eyes, Tyrant Emperor's divine fist, while only 9 Serenities was a jack of all trades. He was ashamed to the others, they all took him for a fake. But 9 Serenities sure was persistent, gathering the world's secret arts and cultivation methods. And through all that knowledge, he became one of the strongest 3 emperors. He compiled all of his knowledge in the 9 Serenities' secret records, a treasure everyone is thirsting over. I just never thought Patriarch Blood Demon's blood infant art would fall into his hands as well. Kid, holding that record is the same as turning you into the world's most brilliant gem, a library of secrets. With all arts beneath the 10 emperors in your hands, you have received the greatest blessing in your path to understand Tao. Zhuo Fan nodded, wiping his brow. In just a few words, the guy had figured him out as the holder of the 9 Serenities' secret records. Everyone in the sacred domain would go insane over it, ending with his untimely demise. Of course, as luck would have it, this guy thought of himself as better than even the emperors, mocking their greed for some scribbles. He respected the 9 Serenities' secret records, but wouldn't steal it from the kid. This was Zhuo Fan's luckiest break, yet not like he could stop him anyway. Zhuo Fan mustered some courage. Senior, from your tone I assume you're familiar with the 10 emperors. I wonder. You've been to the Lightning Canyon. What did you get? The man asked, coldly licking his lips. Zhuo Fan gave a firm nod. Senior, I have indeed been there. Senior's azure flame was of much help in fighting Lightning Canyon's purple lightning array. I just don't know if the senior wants the purple lightning gold eye or divine eye of the void. Zhuo Fan's right eye flashed in 3 gold halos. The man's mouth trembled. He smiled and scratched his head. Ha ha ha, you did find it after all. My assistance hasn't been for naught. He wants Heavenly Emperor's ultimate skill, divine eye of the void. All that's left to figure out is if he is after the art or my eyes. He won't be gouging them out, is he? The stout man laughed again in his imperial seat, jerking him out of his thoughts. Kid, didn't you want to know who I am? Feast your eyes. A raging fire exploded behind him, azure in color, and in the shape of a huge bird with even bigger wings. Zhuo Fan's eyes widened. The head of the 5 sacred beasts, vaulting Kunpeng. He came to the same guess earlier on, but seeing was believing. Shaking his tense heart, the 5 sacred beasts were equal to the 10 emperors, but rulers of beasts meeting vaulting Kunpeng was like meeting an emperor of old. Even if he was back to being the demonic emperor, an emperor-level expert, he'd still be nothing more than an ant. Smiley face. Funny enough, the character for emperor in demonic emperor implies higher power and authority than the emperor in the 10 emperors. Now he knew why every beast cowered before the azure flame. How could they rebuke the mighty lord of the animal kingdom? Even humans would shiver when facing such a mighty beast as the vaulting Kunpeng. He saw the soaring Qilin in the Lightning Canyon, but it was already dead, leaving behind a mere leg. While vaulting Kunpeng was in the flesh before his very eyes, merely the image behind him shone with such power and pressure that it took his breath away. It was the aura of a sacred beast. Gulping hard, Zhuo Fan was sweating buckets. Gu Santong had hunkered behind him from the start, eerily quiet for once. Not even he dared showboating before the vaulting Kunpeng. Chuckling, vaulting Kunpeng withdrew his power and walked down from his throne, watching Zhuo Fan in glee. You truly are Nine Serenity's successor. I wasn't wrong to put my hopes on you. Now it's time for the next step. Next? Zhuo Fan jerked. Vaulting Kunpeng helped me for his own reasons, like I thought. But what is he after? Chapter 414, Qilin's Son. Chapter 414, Qilin's Son. I'll fulfill any wish you may have, Senior, come hell or high water. Zhuo Fan cupped his hands, his waist bent. Like the most adorable child, Kunpeng laughed. Please don't play around. Nine Serenities was a sly fox back then, and with you as his successor, you can't be anything less either. I am not one to believe anything that comes out of your mouth. And like I said, I'm not asking for repayment. This next step is merely a request of mine. You can decide what to do. But you better do it right if you accept. Zhuo Fan pursed his lips. Kunpeng was kind and humble, only requesting, but this style was the best suited in maneuvering others. He knew that if Zhuo Fan's promise was fake, the only one to suffer would be himself. The carrot would be more appropriate in these cases, adding enough incentive to get the job done. Zhuo Fan knew that Kunpeng's request would be hard, if not impossibly dangerous. There was no way to accept it before even knowing what it entailed. Kunpeng nodded. Good to know that you are considering everything. You are the spitting image of the cunning Nine Serenities. The more thoughtful you are, the more at ease I would be on entrusting you with this. Before that, though, I would like to ask. Mind letting that child be in my care? Kunpeng turned to Gu Santong hiding behind Zhuo Fan, filled with love. What? The two cried at the same time. Gu Santong made himself smaller behind Zhuo Fan and shivered. Senior, young Sanzi is my godson. Why do you want him? Zhuo Fan panicked, knowing he couldn't stop Kunpeng if he was forceful. Kunpeng looked at them oddly. How rare. You two hit it off at first sight and even became a family. This is even better. But the child is related to me, and teaching him will help him greatly. Zhuo Fan roamed his eyes around in thought. You've seen Brother Qilin in Lightning Canyon, correct? He must be so thin, struck down by the purple lightning for so many years. This child could have only survived in the Lightning Canyon due to his father's help. Taking him out and even becoming family must be because of Brother Qilin's approval. You now know who I am, and since me and his father are sacred beasts, it would be better to let me take care of him. Cut the crap! Gu Santong hooted. This young master has lived in Tianyu. I only stayed in Lightning Canyon for 5 years. How can I be Qilin's son? Kunpeng looked at Zhuo Fan in stunned silence. Zhuo Fan retold Gu Santong's history. Kunpeng fell silent, frowned and sighed. I see, it was 300 years ago. What's wrong, Senior? Zhuo Fan asked. Gu Santong was his godson. He had a theory about the kid's history, but still needed proof. Kunpeng said. 3 centuries ago, I heard a sudden cry across the world. It sounded like Brother Qilin's roar of anger. My brothers had an encounter with the Heavenly Emperor once, sealing them in the 3 forbidden spaces with the divine eye of the void, forced to endure the torment of thousands of purple lightning strikes. For many years this remained unchanged. Then at some point, Brother Qilin gave a howl of shock. I didn't know its meaning, but now I see it must have meant that he could no longer hold on, and was worried for his Qilin egg dying with him. He used all that he had left to throw the egg out of that space. And from that egg came you, Gu Santong. This is why you had no mother or father, of incredible power, just like Qilin's innate ability. None of the 5 sacred beasts can beat a Qilin in terms of strength alone. Gu Santong was stunned. He was still skeptical, but soon realized the pain he felt looking at the soaring Qilin's leg back in Lightning Canyon was because of their blood ties. Anyone would be in tears seeing their father reduced to such a state. Zhuo Fan nodded. He didn't know then why the perfect array had a gap. The Qilin used its outrageous power to make that hole to get his egg out, yet even the mighty Qilin could only make that little hole, further confirming the might of Heavenly Emperor's eye skill. And in his act of desperation, the Qilin not only lost its life, but was reduced to a mere leg. He had to have overused his strength, leaving him easy prey for the purple lightning. The Qilin might still be alive if not for getting Gu Santong out. Zhuo Fan sighed. A father's love is like a mountain. Yes, I'm sure of it. When you guys entered Allbeast mountain range, besides sensing the azure flame, I also felt the Qilin's aura. Now that you are before me, my sacred beast nose can't be wrong. That is why I had three-headed crow escort you here. To see it clearly. Kunpeng rubbed Gu Santong's little head, sighing. Child, you should call me Uncle Kunpeng. Gu Santong only blushed, biting his lip, and tearing up Kunpeng wasn't hard on him, letting him digest this shocking news and turning to Zhuo Fan. Young Sanzi's history is certain. But I can't help but wonder, what came of Brother Qilin after you entered Lightning Canyon? How is he? Zhuo Fan gave a bitter smile, making his right hand flash red. Only this remained. What? The soaring Qilin's leg is resting under your shoulder? Kunpeng was flabbergasted, touching Zhuo Fan's right arm. The great sacred beast became a human's tool. 9 Serenities Emperor's research was complete. You are a truly rare genius, boy. Kunpeng instantly took it as an effect of 9 Serenities Emperor's secret art. But Zhuo Fan was frowning, the sadness gone from his eyes, replaced with fear. For God's sake. Here you are seeing your old pal's only remains, and instead of mourning, you're praising 9 Serenities Emperor's research. Humph, the sacred beasts aren't that friendly after all. Does that mean all that sadness just now was fake? He came up with 2 logical explanations, to win Gu Santong over and to win him over. Since he still has stuff he needs me to do, winning me over takes precedence. Let's see where he's taking it. Zhuo Fan squinted but sighed. Senior, please don't grieve. Oh, sorry, I lost myself there. Blushing, Kunpeng took back his hands, the sadness back in his eyes. Senior, what is it that you want from me? Snickering inside, Zhuo Fan bowed Kunpeng's side. As the leader of the 5 sacred beasts, I mourn the fates of 3 of my brothers sealed away in such spaces, unable to get out, with me powerless to help. That is why I want you to do it, get my brothers out of there. I will never forget your immense effort. Senior exaggerates, nothing is impossible with your power. Junior is a mere ant's disciple. How can my meager skill rescue seniors from eternal damnation? Zhuo Fan sighed. Kunpeng rushed. Kid, you underestimate yourself. With 9 Serenities Emperor and Heavenly Emperor's ultimate skills, the sky's the limit. And those spaces came to be through the divine eye of the void. You who possess that skill will have no problem removing the seal. But my achievement is meager. It'd be better to give the art to Senior. With your training you'd complete it in no time. No. Kunpeng shook his head hastily. Each person has his own path. Humans comprehend Tao, to rule over everything, while sacred beasts unearth the power deep within. Each has their own strengths, but never can they mix. A human's art is something a sacred beast and spiritual beasts can never learn. Zhuo Fan unclenched. Of course he didn't lose it and turned charitable. He wouldn't just hand it over. It was all a test. Now that he knew that the sacred beast couldn't use his art, he breathed easier since there was no conflict of interests. They could build a stable business relationship. Dad, just do it. Gu Santong's pitiful eyes turned to Zhuo Fan, recalling his father's tragic passing. Gu Santong wished to help the other sacred beasts. Zhuo Fan patted his little head, chuckling fondly. Little scamp, how can I not? We are in another guy's home after all. He said he won't force us, but even a moron can see this is no request. Humph, if I don't agree, there won't be a bone left of my body in this mountain range. But Gu Santong merely showed a bright smile. His innocence warmed the cockles of his heart. The kid's puppy looks aside. Business is business. It was not Zhuo Fan's style to meet such a moneybag and not fleece him of every last penny, or spirit stone. Case in point, Zhuo Fan bowed. Senior, since you are trusting me with such a monumental task, I would be needing some support. Kunpeng's face was twitching. getting the drift. Ha ha ha, I didn't meet that old freak 9 Serenities, but you sure have that geezer styled down pat. Ha ha ha, no worries. I have a great gift prepared. Chapter 415, Open the Mind. Chapter 415, Open the Mind. Pa! Kunpeng snapped his fingers as rumbling came from outside. Kunpeng glanced at the two, walked out and smiled. Come with me. They were right behind him, but froze as they left the cave. It was a heap of bloody spiritual beast wings. Scarlet blood ran from the base in rivulets, a testament to how freshly plucked they were, while over them, 9th-level spiritual beasts flew around still, adding to the heap an extra pile of bloody wings, shaking the ground every time Zhuo gasped. As a demonic emperor, he had seen his fair share of ghastly genocides, but it was his first time seeing it done by their own kin in cold blood. He now knew for sure that Kunpeng was a determined, vicious and ambitious person. Spiritual beasts were naught but slaves to a sacred beast, their tiny little lives having no worth whatsoever. Even as they tore those wings from the beast's shivering bodies, their hearts wouldn't so much as twitch. I know you've been looking for spiritual beast wings. Here are 100,000 from 4th, 5th, and 6th level spiritual beasts. I can have them fetch more if you want. Kunpeng smiled in a savage tone, fitting for a beast overlord. Zhuo waved quickly. Senior is so thoughtful. I could never use so many. I only wanted 1,000. Senior's generosity and consideration has been more than enough. However, my ring can't hold so many wings. It's fine. Kunpeng flicked his hand and the heap of wings entered his ring before he handed it over to Zhuo. Please take it. It was a ring sparkling in azure, of a different class than his thunder ring. It had such a thick spiritual energy coming from it that it gave off a refreshed feeling and filled one with yuan qi. There was no way an average guy could just show up and make one sacred ring. He wanted to go for it, but taking such an item couldn't be done casually. Only those in power in the sacred domain had the right to flaunt such rings. Not even he, a demonic emperor, qualified. Kunpeng chuckled at his hesitation. I see. Although no one can recognize this sacred ring in the mortal domain, you will one day go back to the sacred domain. Ha ha ha, you have such a far gaze. But it's fine. Kunpeng hooked his finger, and the thunder ring flew into his hand. With a flash of azure, the two rings combined. Thunder ring on the outside, but still as large inside as the sacred ring. Zhuo paled and sighed inside. Such skill, his refining must be divine. Another thing this demonic emperor found he was lacking, vaulting. Kunpeng truly is the head of the 5 sacred beasts, of the same existence as the 10 emperors. His dumbfounded look stroked Kunpeng's ego, smiling and nodding. The guy's cunning tricks involve not only luring but shock and awe as well. See that? No flattery will ever match my greatness. So be good and stick with me if you want to live a good life. Or I just might squash you. Zhuo's face was just the one he had wished for. Eh? Kunpeng raised an eyebrow, looking at the ring stunned. With a wave and a flash of purple, a purple thunder skylark flew out and landed behind Zhuo. He glanced at Kunpeng in fear, further hiding behind his father. How odd! This thunder skylark wields the power of purple lightning! Kunpeng's eyes shook, pointing at Qiao. Boy, did you have a role in getting the thunder skylark to use purple lightning? Yes and no. When I entered Lightning Canyon, Qiao hadn't hatched and was forced to use it to absorb the purple lightning. I never expected for him to turn out like this. His mind is also sharper than a mere spiritual beast. It is his fortune, Zhuo stated. Why, senior, is there a problem? It's such a freaky event that I've never seen one in my life. Heavenly Emperor's purple lightning comes from heaven-splitting Thunder Phoenix, one of the 5 sacred beasts. Its innate ability was this purple lightning. A sacred beast would pop under its attack and not even soaring Qilin could defend against it. Even with the thunder skylark capable of swallowing lightning, it should still crumble under the purple lightning. But this thunder skylark was born from it. It's like inheriting the Thunder Phoenix's legacy. Amazing! Kunpeng's side. Zhuo figured as much. While the egg took the brunt of the purple lightning back then, he was using the peak of 9 Serenities Emperor's research, Demon transformation art. It can absorb anything in the world. This had to be why the undeveloped Xiao could take in the purple lightning into himself. While Zhuo Fan took some of the brunt as well. Without this mystical art, the man and bird would have long been shot dead. Zhuo Fan had figured it all out, but was not feeling quite forward with this particular info. With how humans were twisted inside, discretion was the better side of valor, not to mention keeping his cards hidden. Humph, Kunpeng may know the ancient emperors, but he has no clue of Nine Serenities Emperor's masterpiece, the demon transformation art. The unknown is the ultimate weapon. Zhuo Fan knew that fully well since his first life to the pondering and baffled Kunpeng. Zhuo Fan put on an equally dumbstruck look. Kunpeng sighed in the end. Such a huge opportunity. This bird's fortune is immense. Kid, you sure have one lucky star. Not only you bless yourself, but even your damn pet struck gold. You're practically blinding from all the karma on you. Senior, that's just luck. Zhuo Fan bowed. Kunpeng grinned. Then let me add my own blessing and gild the lily. Kunpeng motioned and Xiao drew closer, panicking and crying. Gu Santong wanted to interfere, but Zhuo Fan stopped him. Kunpeng was the head of sacred beasts. He wouldn't lower himself to picking on 4th-level spiritual beasts. Kunpeng fixed his happy eyes on Xiao and an azure glow flew from his finger and into the bird's forehead. Xiao's frantic wings stopped. It cawed once and bowed. Thank you for your blessing, sacred lord. Xiao can speak. Gu Santong turned shocked to Zhuo Fan. Zhuo Fan was out of it as well, but only for a jiffy. But why is it a female? Yep, Xiao was a she now, along with all the perks that entailed. She had a soothing voice and was unlike her old man in style. Though a chick, in more ways than one, she shouldn't have such a soft voice even as a young one. It was totally different from Gu Santong. Father, brother, I have always been a girl. You just always took me for. Xiao flapped next to the two, blinking her huge innocent eyes. Zhuo Fan ahemed. Son. Younger brother. Gu Santong blushed. Xiao huffed and puffed, flying around the two. I'm a girl, a girl. Ha ha ha, kid, you don't even know your spirit animal's gender? Kunpeng cracked up. Malarkey. How should I know when I didn't send her to find a mate? Rolling his eyes, Zhuo Fan kept that to himself and only showed respect. It's of my own neglect, embarrassing myself before senior. But what did Sir do? Opened her mind. Kunpeng smiled. Kid, I have to admit, you are loaded with treasures yet can't even see them. I was born out of chaos itself to become the head of the 5 sacred beasts. Like that thunder phoenix, I use the chaos flame, a gentle flame. It can transcend the soul, harmonize yin and yang and open the mind. Kid, you have my chaos flame. If you used it to refine your soul for 10 years you would have been in the ethereal stage. What are you still doing in the profound heaven stage? A darned shame. Why didn't you tell me that the first time? Zhuo Fan was stumped and grumbling inside. At least he was a hard worker in building up his strength all this time, but who'd be a moron to skip such a shortcut? It should have hit him a long time ago, in fact. When he got his discerning field and wielded Radiant Stage's skills. Weren't all of them a byproduct of the Azure Flame? Why didn't he take the educated and logical guess of using it to refine his soul? Zhuo Fan felt like shedding dry tears, all those years, for nothing. Kunpeng shook his head. I gave you the Azure Flame to shield your soul while also helping you get in the Lightning Canyon. I never intended for you to use it and go ethereal. But now that you've refined my old flame, you have complete control over it, and should have enjoyed your fortune. A shame you're such a schmuck to understand this basic truth, ha ha ha. Zhuo Fan's face twitched. Chapter 416, Loaded. Chapter 416, Loaded. What's 10 wasted years anyway? You'll have plenty of time to cultivate in the future. Don't feel too down in the dumps. Kunpeng patronized. He snapped his fingers and the new and improved thunder ring returned to Zhuo Fan, sighing. Zhuo Fan put it on and his eyes popped out. TT, this is 10 billion sacred spirit stones. Ha ha ha, this is the gift I was talking about. What, you thought it'd only be some spiritual beast wings? Kunpeng spoke with pride. I mean, I am an ancient powerhouse that roamed the continent after all. This is nothing. With that old Qilin Serenity's bag of fancy arrays and tricks, you'd stumble upon some monsters at some point, and with my little help you can now survive them. Just work hard in helping me. That's all the compensation I want. Upstart. Zhuo clicked his tongue, seeing the motherlode sparkling in his ring. The sparse spiritual treasures and ingredients gave such a poor feeling. Besides the billions of sacred spirit stones, it's more than what the sacred domain's heads of sacred clans can come up with. Arrays demanded spirit stone, and above the 12th grade arrays, there were 6 more, the sacred arrays. Those worked only with sacred spirit stones, but sacred spirit stone mines only existed in the sacred domain, in the hands of the clans there, not to mention their low number. Yet Kunpeng smashed him with so many zeros with a flick. That's a sacred beast's boss for you. Everything he does it in style. Zhuo put the ring on with a shiver. He was so moved he could cry. Kunpeng nodded. Now that's called glossing over the defects to take advantage of someone. I gave you a fortune, so you better do your own part and more. Zhuo took a deep breath and cupped his hands. Senior, I will see this through, come what may. I will find the other danger zones and save seniors from impending doom. Very good. Kunpeng beamed. I've got this slick to change his mind. If there's nothing else, start right away. Young Sanzi will stay with me as I pour my all in teaching him. He's been out there for 300 years without a guide, unable to make use of his sacred beast's innate strength. What a shame. Kunpeng spoke. The 3-headed crow landed, obviously intending to give Zhuo a lift out of here. Zhuo nodded, put Qiao in the ring and patted Gu Santong's head before hopping on the bird's back. Gu Santong was downcast, pleading with Kunpeng. I want to send Dad off. Kunpeng nodded. Gu Santong perked up and jumped on the 3-headed crow as well. The 3-headed crow flapped away, taking them outside Allbeast mountain range. Kunpeng watched them vanish in the distance with a glint in his eyes. Ha ha ha, who would have imagined I'd run into Thunder Phoenix's successor? Although a mere chick and soft, but very much capable of becoming a sacred beast. Kunpeng's smile twisted. Now that I think about it, it might not be long before the 5 sacred beasts will reassemble. That will be the day, Heavenly Emperor, the day we will settle our old score. Kunpeng laughed and entered the pitch-black cave in under an hour. The two arrived at the same spot they left from. Zhuo grabbed Gu Santong as they jumped off. He glanced wearily at the 3-headed crow, then transmitted. Young Sanzi, listen and don't talk. All right? Gu Santong gave him an odd look but nodded. Don't take everything Kunpeng said as true. You need to keep your guard up. As he is the head of the 5 sacred beasts and you are the son of one, training by his side will be the best scenario for you. But he has a hidden agenda. Just now he nitpicked on the trivial instead of focusing on the bigger things. Not once did he mention his beef with the Heavenly Emperor. This only proves that there must be more to it than it looks. You have to be careful. Zhuo put on a heavy expression, making Gu Santong confused. If Kunpeng wanted to harm him, he would be like a fish waiting to be gutted. Zhuo saw right through him, responding with a reassuring look. You will be safe staying with him for now. He wants me to do something, and even if his intentions are bad, he won't act on them anytime soon. From our talk I realized that he has a fatal weakness. He knew something happened to Qilin 3 centuries ago, yet he didn't leave the mountain to look for you. Besides, we've been through one danger zone already. The threat is there, but we only push through with luck. While Kunpeng has the power to break the zone and rescue his friends. Why is it that so many years have passed yet not once has he tried to? It goes to show that he can only hide in the Allbeast mountain range. Taking one step outside will spell disaster for him. If you notice anything out of place, anything at all, young Sanzi, you run like hell out of the Allbeast mountain range. Kunpeng would have spat blood in anger if he were here and cursed him as ingrate. For God's sake. I just gave you a fortune, and you bite me behind my back as thanks? You're nothing but a low-life degenerate sowing discord between us, sacred beasts. What did he expect? Zhuo's entire personality was built on biting others and keeping his constant guard up against others biting back, and since it concerned young Sanzi's safety, Zhuo Fan was particularly chewy. He had always thought of this child as his own son. Gu Santong sighed at Zhuo Fan's look and gave a thumbs up. Dad, you're the best. I'll be extra careful. Also be mindful not to take him off. Rubbing Gu Santong one last time, Zhuo Fan sighed fondly. Gu Santong bobbed his head. The three-headed crow flapped. Young master, we should be going. Ha ha ha, young master. I thought it odd before, but now you really are young master Qilin, ha ha ha. Zhuo Fan teased. The mood brightened on the spot. Gu Santong knew he wanted him to be carefree and worry-free and smiled back. Dad, I am Allbeast Mountain Range's young master, and that makes you the master. If anyone shafts you, just tell me and I will set them straight. Good, now go. Zhuo Fan laughed. Gu Santong jumped on the crow, but his eyes never left Zhuo Fan, choking from tears. Dad, come see me even if no one's mean to you. Whoosh. The crow was gone with one flap, cutting his heartfelt goodbye. Zhuo Fan sighed, his heart heavy. He could never feel at ease with Gu Santong at Kunpeng's side. Not like he had a choice in the matter. With a deep breath, Zhuo Fan calmed down and flew for Windgaze City. 3 months later, a flash streaked Windgaze City's skies, announcing Zhuo Fan's arrival on Blackwind Mountain. A glance told him the 4 5th-grade arrays were still up and running. With a gesture, the arrays opened up a path for Zhuo Fan to walk in. The Luo clan responded on the spot at the commotion, only to burst with joy. Brother Zhuo, I thought something happened to you after what happened with the Emperor, that you were hounded on every side. Only when I met with Sister Schwanger, I realized it was all part of your grand plan. I could finally breathe easier, ha ha ha. Luo Yuhai welcomed. Zhuo Fan nodded, seeing everyone here took a weight off his shoulder. Ling Wuchang kept his word. You jerk! Why didn't you tell us it's part of the plan? We were worried sick. Luo Yunchang blamed him. Zhuo Fan merely waved his hand. Elderly, did you finish what I asked? The elders looked at each other and sorrowfully Jingtian was forced to speak up. Steward Zhuo, we were eager at first to get the materials, ingredients and spirit stones you asked of us. But we are a new house and the mines in our domain are few. And ever since you've been added to the top of the Empire's wanted list, those vassals stay clear of us, not wanting to have anything to do with this mess. We were unable to get everything in such a situation. Also, our guards are defending the 1,000 members of the Yun clan, who, per your instructions, are at the foot of Blackwind Mountain, digging a 1,000-mile-wide bunker. Good. As long as the bunker is ready, it's fine. I've brought the rest. Zhuo Fan snickered in a flash. Blackwind Mountain was overloaded with heaps of materials and ingredients as well as spirit stones. Everyone's mind froze. How did Zhuo Fan get so many riches? Did he have an empire under him? He had brought out 100 times of what the rest of them had scraped together. Now follow my earlier plan and handle these. The lands will soon be ours. Zhuo Fan's step was firm as he walked before them. Everyone was still out of it even as he was gone from sight. What did Steward Zhuo do in the last few months to get filthy rich? He's a total upstart. You won't even need to fight for the lands when you can just buy them. Chapter 417, Taunt. Chapter 417, Taunt. A chilling wind blew that night as the stars glittered like eternal fireworks. The light was still on in the Imperial Palace's study. The eerie sound of the wind rattling the window was putting everyone on edge. A sigh came now and then, reflecting the same state on the inside. Mr. Sima, why do you think that rotten Huangpu Tianyuan is still so late in making his move? I even handed him the power over the 7 houses. Such perfect opportunities don't come cheap. The Emperor's fingers drummed the table, his eyes sharp as blades. Sima Hui replied, Your Majesty, Lim Wuchang is no fool. He asked for the Luo clan to gain an excuse for its expansion campaign. His delayed start, however, points at his side on the imperial capital. How can Regent Estate start a war with a peaceful imperial capital? If anything, he'll wait for all his forces to be in place, to respond to Zhuo Fan and Your Majesty at the same time, before beginning. Fan Qiubai offered. The Emperor smiled in anger. Every one of those cunning old foxes are just standing by, watching. Zhuge Changfeng is doing it, and so is Ling Wuchang. Humph, the spark to ignite both the court and the nation can happen any moment. But no one wants to stick their neck out, in fear of getting hunted by a third. Both conflicts have to happen at the same time. Out there, the civil war of Regent Estate with Shuofan is a battle of supremacy. But is my struggle here with Zhuge Changfeng any different? Just that this crafty geezer leaves me no opening to grab onto. The people will denounce me if I start attacking the Prime Minister without a good excuse. But with how quiet it is in here, how can the war start outside? The Emperor sighed. Sima Hui bowed. Your Majesty, Zhuge Changfeng brought the Qianrong with his authority using the celebration as an excuse. He must be colluding with them. The event has passed yet the delegation is still around. Your Majesty will soon get the best reason to cast them out. It won't be long before Your Majesty will. Cough, cough, cough. The Emperor's violent coughing fit broke his speech. Taking away the handkerchief, there was blood on it. Your Majesty. Everyone panicked. The Emperor had them relax, took his medicine and eased a breath. Feeling much better, turning to the others, the Emperor smiled. It's fine, but my life is coming to an end. I can't hold on for long. An emperor is different from a cultivator. With so many affairs taking up my time, I have little time left for training and to increase my lifespan. Ha ha ha, not even I can fight it. Yes, Mr. Sima is right. We have no time to lose. The only one suffering from dragging this any longer will be me. Sima Hui bowed and sighed. The others showed their utmost respect for the Emperor in a flourish of their own. An emperor, beset by court affairs and limited by time, still wanted to fight with all he had to leave a peaceful and unified world, his legacy. For a successor, the people might remember him for being weak and mock him for his incompetence, but only his men knew the truth. He was just like the emperors of old, bold and powerful. Hear my edict. The Emperor boomed. Divine Dragon Sima Hui, Fang Qiubai and Shadow King are to set for Regent Estate and assist the Estate Lord Huangpu Tianyuan in capturing Zhuofan. Set out at once. What? The men were in complete shock. Sima Hui urged. Your Majesty, the imperial capital is still in unrest. Who will protect you if we go? Please delay your order. Please, Your Majesty. The others bowed. The Emperor smiled, his gaze set. I am just giving them a chance to run amok. Ha ha ha. The Emperor flicked his hand and left with a carefree laughter. Only the men were still standing there looking at themselves, lost. They knew their lord's character. His orders were final. The Divine Dragons and Shadow King had to obey. Whoosh! 3 dots flew out of the imperial capital, but the news spread like lightning in Prime Minister's home. Zhuge Changfeng was sipping wine in his backyard, enjoying the moon. The ground at his feet swelled and turned into a human shape. Hu Lianchai looked excited. Prime Minister Zhuge, we've just got word that all experts around the Emperor went after Zhuofan. Young Master and Imperial Tutor wished to ask if we should act now. Ha ha ha, what act? You couldn't have enjoyed all what the imperial capital has to offer now with it being so large. Won't it be better to take a stroll around town, partake in the customs and just live in the moment? Zhuge Changfeng snickered as he sipped his wine. Hu Lianchai shouted. Prime Minister, sir, Qianrong warriors haven't come to watch the sunset, you know that. Of course I know. It is why I'm telling you to relax and do whatever. Don't play into the old man's hand. Zhuge Changfeng shook his head. Hu Lianchai didn't understand. Prime Minister, sir, is this all a trap? But I am certain the 2 Divine Dragons and Shadow King have left. The Emperor is defenseless. Ha ha ha, how naive. No Divine Dragons around and being defenseless are 2 different things. Don't be hasty, the old coot has come prepared. Sipping again, Zhuge Changfeng waved him off. Hu Lianchai turned and muttered as he left. Humph, Tianyu is filled with cowards. Not acting even at such a golden time. What did you say? Zhuge Changfeng warned in his most serious tone. Give your young master and imperial tutor a message. For the next few days stay calm. You can all die for all I care, but if you threaten the success of my plan over something trivial, you have another thing coming. Zhuge Changfeng might be a mere profound heaven cultivator, but he was the Prime Minister. His icy tones sent shivers even into Hu Lianchai, a radiant stage expert. Go back. Yuga Chang Feng barked. Hu Lianchai nodded, sinking back into the mud. Left alone, Zhuge Chang Feng resumed tasting his wine. Old man, you've finally cast your net. But isn't using this bait a little dangerous? Or is there something else you're hiding besides divine dragons and Shadow King? Zhuge Chang Feng contemplated meanwhile, in the second prince's brand new manner. The prince was pacing around the lounge, his hands shaking all the time. A shadow slipped in under the cover of the night. Hell Valley's newest mastermind, Yu Ming. Your Highness, you asked for me? Yu Ming bowed. Second prince shot for him in restlessness. Sir Yu Ming, perfect timing. I've just heard a crucial piece of information. Second prince's eyes darted around, then he whispered when the coast was clear. Imperial Father's 2 divine dragons and Shadow King went after Shuofan. Imperial Father is defenseless. Even a moron could see that this was a taunt, and only a dumbass like you would fall for it. Then again, if not for your dimwittedness, I'd never get to play you like a fiddle. Yu Ming hid his thoughts well, only showing a faint smile. Second Prince, I do not understand what you wish from me. Sir Yu Ming, you should understand the situation right now. Second Prince was jittery, flailing his arms around, but still couldn't quite get the nerve to say those few little not-so-innocent words. Sir Yu Ming, you know how Holy Maiden judged me unfit to rule. Second Prince is too anxious. Regarding fate, 3 parts are heaven's will and 7 parts hard work. You're no believer to enter the stage, nor would you have let Yun Xuanji read Huang Puqingtian's fate. And didn't Huang Puqingtian with his right to rule get killed in the end? Yeah, I also believe all this hype about Providence is nonsense. Second Prince agreed. That is why I asked for you, Sir Yu Ming, to help me rewrite fate. Second Prince, I cannot even read fate. Yu Ming played the fool, knowing fully well the schmuck's mind. Second Prince took a breath to cool his jets. Sir Lung, I want you to advise me on my next course of action. Wait and see. Yu Ming spoke. Second Prince was disappointed. But the situation now. Your Highness, why ask for me if your mind is set? Yu Ming cut him off with a smile. Second Prince shook his head. To me, Sir Yu Ming is the brightest mind in the world, better than Ling Wuchang and Zhuge Changfeng. None of them could play Shuofan, but Sir Ming's advice of asking Yun Shuang's hand got the kid good. He isn't just on the ropes, but has the entire nation after him. Sir Ming is a true mastermind. Since you've told me to stay put, then that's what I'll do. Yu Ming nodded with a pleased smile, but snickered inside. You fool, do you take Shuofan for a mental case to fall for such a gimmick? He was in on it the whole time. Who do you think had me use you to set it up in the first place? Humph, this moron is hopeless. Better to side with Regent Estate and Shuofan and take the first chance I get to sell out this fool. Yu Ming's grin earned the Second Prince's complete trust, then he praised. Good child. Chapter 418, Pushing Through. Chapter 418, Pushing Through. Sir Lung, what are you doing here? At the super-secret huge array thousands of meters under Caged Dragon City, the tough and muscled figure of Huang Pufeng walked up from behind Ling Wuchang. Heart tense, Ling Wuchang replied. What I must. Sir Ling should oversee the situation outside and not keep watch over the Dragon Vein seal. You need to deploy the Venerables. Huang Pufeng's tone was cold. Information has been received from the Imperial capital. The Divine Dragons are on the move and the Emperor is alone. You must have an idea about what we need to do next. Wait and see. Ling Wuchang's reply was on point. Huang Pufeng frowned. Sir Ling, please reconsider before making hasty decisions. This is our best chance. Nothing is more important than this moment. Our best choice is to wait and see. Ling Wuchang's eyes never left the array. Huang Pufeng felt something was off. Being around Ling Wuchang for so long, he knew this was not his usual style. Wait for what? Huang Pufeng glanced about. Sir Ling, how come I haven't seen Estate Lord around? Usually when one of you is around, the other is not far behind. What is he up to being missing for so long? Estate Lord has his own thoughts. It's not something High Venerable needs to worry about. Ling Wuchang tightened his fists, doing his best to maintain calm. Huang Pufenglai scanned the trembling face and frowned, his suspicions heightened. Sir Ling, Estate Lord is the leader of Regent Estate, and in these pressing times he needs to be on duty, to look out for the house's interests. What exactly is going on with him? Sir Ling, you are the steward and must tell me as the High Venerable. It is within my right to know. Ling Wuchang took a deep breath and maintained a straight face. Huang Pufenglai grew ashen by the second, his aura flashing stronger. He didn't get to squeeze harder as dragon roars came from the center of the array. Roar. Wails of agony echoed in between every roar. Huang Pufenglai could identify that voice from anywhere. Is Estate Lord inside the seal? Huang Pufenglai watched it stunned, then became shocked as the 8 dragon souls inside the seal raved. He snapped a savage look on Ling Wuchang. Sir Ling, what the hell is going on here? Why did the Estate Lord enter the array? Knowing when to quit, Ling Wuchang sighed as he explained the events. High Venerable instantly identified the issue. The two had gone over the gathering of elders and used the Bodhi root to train the 9 dragons' diamond body. Huang Putianyuan was the Estate Lord, but this crucial decision was too important to be left to one man's decision. This isn't a game! Huang Pufenglai spat. Have you two forgotten the rules of Regent Estate? How can the two of you make light of the entire house's future? And that Huang Putianyuan's talent is lacking, not reaching the radiant stage in decades. He cannot bear the power of the dragon souls. Letting him go in there, you've sent him to his death. No, I have to get him out. Huang Pufenglai made a sign to open the seal. The question was, did he care so much for that poor man's life? Hell no. If the Estate Lord kicked the bucket, there'd be plenty more candidates where he came from. What the High Venerable cared about the most was the 8 dragon souls getting tamed, and by someone other than him. He was the High Venerable here, the peak of Regent Estate's power. The 9 dragons' diamond body should be his. Why waste it on a waste who couldn't even enter the radiant stage? He couldn't and wouldn't accept it. Ling Wuchang moved faster, grabbing his hands. High Venerable, don't be rash. With the Estate Lord training in the 9 dragons' diamond body, it has incited the dragon souls. Open the array now and the dragons will doom us all. Huang Pufenglai was still considering, but let his hand rest in the end. Ling Wuchang saw through his desires and advised. With the Estate Lord's talent, achieving it will be for the best, but any mistake is life-threatening. Albeit a tragedy, at least the dragon souls will remain and finding the next candidate will be easy. We won't be losing much at all in this. The speech hit right where it mattered, making him relax. Yeah, once he drops dead, only I'll be worthy of training in 9 dragons' diamond body. I can't just risk my future by releasing the dragon souls in the heat of the moment. Ah! A shout of pain came from the center, easing Huang Pufenglai's worries. Humph, with the prick's meager talent, he has next to no chance. Waiting will be better. Huang Pufenglai sighed. If only Estate Lord can come back from the brink. May fortune smile upon him. Huang Pufenglai left, just like that. Sir Ling, I will have 10 venerables watch over the array to prevent any dragon soul from slipping out. Thank you so much, High Venerable. Ling Wuchang bowed. Huang Pufenglai was gone with a snicker. Ling Wuchang shook his head. Anyone could tell what Huang Pufenglai wanted. To have someone inform him of this situation when there was no more peep coming from Huang Putianyuan, he'd strut in, take the Bodhi route, and train himself to glory. Just that his plan wouldn't be fulfilled any time soon. Training in 9 dragons' diamond body needed the dragon souls to gnaw on the user and refine the dragonic soul, leading to the creation of the diamond body. The body could break any time under the process, but with a little nifty doohickey called Bodhi root, and its endless vitality to offset this, the chances went through the roof. All that mattered now was the mind. With a little metal to push through the pain, success was practically a given. Huang Putianyuan had an average talent, but he was a tough cookie baked through years and years of experience. As Estate Lord, all of these facts led to Ling Wuchang believing that his chances were perfect. Ling Wuchang mocked. If there's one word you can use to sum up human nature, it's greed. Huang Pufenglai did send his men to keep an eye on things, but as months passed, the guards only got to hear wails upon wails, growing louder and louder, with a dragon roar mixed in every now and then. It was mind-boggling how a human being could even make such sounds. But one thing was clear, the man wasn't anywhere near done. Huang Pufenglei's mood soured as he counted the days. What's taking him so long to die? Just croak already so I can have a shot. 3 months later, Fan Qiubai's group of 3 came with the Emperor's edict to cage Dragon City, urging Regent Estate to deal with Zhuo Fan. Huang Pufenglai had had enough of waiting and came down to the array. Sir Ling, the Emperor has sent the Divine Dragons saying they'll help us capture Zhuo Fan. Huang Pufenglai proclaimed his excuse, following up with his real intention. How is Estate Lord faring? It sounded so innocently caring, but reaching anyone's ears was, is he dead yet? Lin Wuchang snickered and sighed, just as the wails and dragon roars stopped. Can it be? Lin Wuchang whipped his head on the array. Huang Pufenglai lit up like a Christmas tree. He rushed to open the array and peer inside, but the bang halted all movements. The engraved array exploded in a shower of colors, revealing a bloody figure gasping for air crawling out. Huang Putianyuan. Even his wretched figure couldn't hide the violent power surging out of him. Everyone stood agape and aware of one truth. The man was reborn. As for the limit to his newfound strength, if it was legend compliant and 9 Dragons' diamond body was invincible, they had no way to know. Only Huang Pufenglai's eyes went bloodshot, gnashing his teeth in anger. The punk pulled through? Are the 8 dragon souls in him right now? Estate Lord! Lin Wuchang shouted in joy. Congratulations, Estate Lord, upon your success in training the diamond body. Huang Putianyuan nodded weakly, his smile faint. The Venerables showed no change. Then a sour and insidious voice came. Estate Lord, you have gone over the Venerables' council, opened the seal and broke the house's rules. What right do you have to remain its lord? The others nodded. Huang Putianyuan's eyes, though, shone like a savage. Chapter 419, Earth Dragon Head. Chapter 419, Earth Dragon Head. He looked up at the white-haired elder bearing a twisted smile and a violent aura around him. He was the second venerable under Huang Pufenglai. With Huang Pufenglai around, he was in fact speaking his boss thoughts. Huang Pufenglai looked coldly at the show. Second venerable, what did you say? I couldn't quite hear you from way over there. Huang Putianyuan's face fell, dragging his beaten body to the old man and leaning his ear over. Second venerable only got more cocky at his feeble look, raising his head to declare in pride. Like I said, I... Roar! A bellow like a caged dragon came, shaking the hearts of all. Even High Venerable tensed, and Second Venerable, the target of that howl, had his eardrums punctured and started bleeding from his ears. With a puff, his entire head vanished in a black and reeking mouth. SSS. The rest recoiled. They watched the Second Venerable just standing there, headless, with blood sprinkling from his neck in place of his head. There was now a beast's triangular eyes, rough scales, and the size, all pointed at it being a dragon head. But the owner of the head was human in body. Huang Putianyuan. In a blink, his head had turned into a dragon's, ripping off Grand Peak Radiant Stage's head clean off. The hearts of the rest shuddered as blood seeped from that maw, any complaints lodged in their throats. Huang Pufenglai was bug-eyed. 9 Dragons' diamond body, dragon head transformation? This transformation boosted invincible defense, and sharp fangs to tear into even a Radiant Stage body. Cultivator Huang Putianyuan took 3 months to step into Zhuo Fan and Gu Santong's level of freakishness. To everyone here, he might have even surpassed Zhuo Fan. Zhuo Fan relied on his 2 fists, while he had the 9 Dragons' diamond body, leaving no part untransformed, becoming truly invincible. Cold eyes glanced around the rest. Huang Putianyuan's head regained its normal form, though the blood still leaked from his mouth, amplifying the dread. Regent Estate's rule is to listen to the Estate Lord. I hope Venerables will remember that, for your sake. Huang Putianyuan snickered a threat. It was about time. He felt like a true Estate Lord. Power demanded authority, demanded the respect and obedience of the world. The Venerables lowered their heads. We obey, Estate Lord. Huang Pufenglai sighed, parroting the others. He knew his chance would never come in the Regent Estate. He was no longer the Grand Poobah, but a mere thug to send on errands. Glancing over at the Second Venerable's body, it just stood there headless, with blood bubbling non-stop, a swift and pointless death. Sighing, Everyone turned morose, their endless glory era as venerables in the Regent estate had come to pass. Congratulations, estate lord. We now have the power to fight this war. Ling Wuchang laughed. Huangpu Tianyuan nodded. Zhuo Gu Santong, we will be seeing each other soon enough, ha ha ha. Estate lord, the emperor's men. Ling Wuchang spoke of the details. Huangpu Tianyuan nodded and showed a cold smile. Humph, just some divine dragons and a shadow captain to monitor me? Naive! Huangpu Fenglei rolled his eyes. Just presumptuous much? To look down on even the likes of divine dragons. Then again, it does make sense. Even united, those three can't do anything to him. Mocking them is only natural. Huangpu Fenglei's envy grew with each thought, his drool leaking. It would have been so nice if it were me instead. Alas, it's wasted on an average person like him when it would have shined in the hands of a high venerable. Like yours truly. A darn shame. High Venerable shook his head, which Huangpu Tianyuan ignored, saying to Ling Wuchang, but since they're here to assist, we'd do well to use them. No matter what insidious plot they have, my strength will trump it. Estate Lord is brilliant. This is what I've been waiting for. With Estate Lord's unstoppable power, anything can be settled. Even a fight with Zhuo or the imperial family. Ling Wuchang bowed, excited that his long-cherished ambitions were about to come true. Huangpu Tianyuan laughed, strutting. Come, let us meet these experts, ha ha ha. The others bowed and followed. They soon arrived in a lounge, where the divine dragons waited. But the relaxed look on Huangpu Tianyuan had them all tense, peak radiant stage. The trio exchanged shocked looks. They all knew Huangpu Tianyuan was a peak profound heaven cultivator, yet he had now shown up, 3 months later at the same level as them? His speed was more freakish than Zhuo. They could feel the threat coming from his blood-reeking figure. It only put the three on guard. Huangpu Tianyuan's sudden transformation had them on edge. Estate Lord Huangpu, it's been ages. I am impressed. I wonder what miracle art the Estate Lord used to undergo such an amazing transformation. Fan Qiubai probed. Sima Hui and Shadow King paid their respects as well, tense and eager for the answer. Huangpu Tianyuan grew bolder at their reactions but dodged the question. Please sit. You have come by the order of the Emperor to help Regent Estate capture that traitor. I am truly grateful. Let us discuss our plan of action. The three glossed over Huangpu Tianyuan's obvious secretive nature and said, How should we proceed, Estate Lord? Ha ha ha, I and Sir Ling have already discussed it. He and Ling Wuchang showed a vague smile, before the first continued. To kill the rider, you first need to remove his horse. We will first clip Zhuo wings. As you all know, Drifting Flowers Edifices, Veiled Dragon Pavilion and Sword Marquise Abode are on Zhuo side. Before we move against Zhuo, we need to cut him off, beginning with his allies. You just want the houses. Fan Qiubai squinted. Huangpu Tianyuan's wild ambitions were already an open secret, but it all fell under His Majesty's plan anyway, and the three nodded. Then let us begin according to Estate Lord Huangpu's plan. Sima Hui nodded. Huangpu Tianyuan was giddy inside. That line was the same as having the imperial family validate his thirst for power, that they wouldn't interfere in his campaign. This is the best chance in history. Though clear that the imperial family wouldn't butt in because it had its own hands full. He had to move faster, before the imperial family finished settling up its affairs and the situation would enter a deadlock again. Huangpu Tianyuan thus put in action the plan of attack on the three houses and notified Hell Valley and Pill King Hall to coordinate. What neither side knew was that in the middle of their talks, subtle signals kept pouring out from their location. They spread to the tree outside, then to the stone table, and they kept going further beyond, going from one location to another. It went on for miles. A dozen miles out of Cage Dragon City, in a forest, a figure in black leaned on a huge tree in meditation. When the tree let out a signal as well, the figure opened his eyes and used the sending jade. It flew high in the sky, gone in a blink. Chapter 420, Zhuo Thoughts. Chapter 420, Zhuo Thoughts. Where's Zhuo? I have crucial intelligence. In the Luo clan hall on Blackwind Mountain, Lei Yuding in all black skipped over. She asked once she saw only Yen Fu was around. Playing the assistant and handling resources, Yen Fu pointed at the floor. Go to the bunker. Steward Zhuo has been there for the past few days. Thanks. Lei Yuding waved. Yen Fu asked before she got away. Captain Lei, just what intelligence has got you so giddy? Nothing much, just that the Regent estate is on the move. Not to attack us, but our 3 allies. We have more time to prepare. What? Yen Fu shouted, rushing over. Is the information accurate? Let me see. Lei Yuding raised an eyebrow. What's got you in such a tizzy? It's got nothing to do with you. And this is for the steward's eyes first. An assistant has no right to see it. Yen Fu paused and nodded. It was one of Zhuo Fan's rules to prevent a leak and maintain secrecy. Anyone caught breaking it would be in for a severe punishment. Even with this rule, he was still worried. Captain Lei, let's go to Steward Zhuo. Even if you do report it, with me there as well, he'll allow it. Lei Yuding nodded. The two soon arrived at the bunker. There were people everywhere. Luo clan's guards with the Yun clan's people made up for 10,000 heads, busying themselves in every corner of the cave according to the orders from the front. That was where Zhuo Fan and Yun Shuang were. He was ostensibly making an array, unknown as of yet to what end. Humph, Steward Zhuo, you sure are a good headhunter. Flirting and working at the same time, not missing a single second. Lei Yuding saw the two close and jealousy reared its head. Yun Shuang blushed and lowered her head. Zhuo Fan only raised an eyebrow. Miss Lei, what brings you here? You should be out there gathering intel. Humph, I came here to report. Lei Yuding threw a jade slip, her tone cold at the lovely couple. Steward Zhuo, how's it going between you and Miss Schwanger? Any progress? Be nice. Schwanger is Yun clan's holy maiden. We're only discussing how to direct her people. Zhuo Fan turned his attention to the jade slip. Zhuo Fan's cold attitude had her even more enraged. So she turned a broken smile to Yun Shuang. Miss Shuang, let me give you a warning. Zhuo Fan is unreliable. He draws a pretty crowd, but he only sticks around for 3 months at most, taking the girl and all her possessions. Your sister here is a living witness and victim. So I warn you, as someone who has gone through this already, be on guard around the thieving Zhuo Fan. So you are soft towards Steward Zhuo as well. I thought it's only young Miss Luo. Shuanger blinked her large innocent eyes. Lei Yuding flushed, still holding her head high in stubbornness. No way. Why would I look at him? Yeah, you don't like me, so don't talk behind my back, ha ha ha. Zhuo Fan opened his eyes and chuckled. Regent estate is finally moving, and against those houses. Not bad at all, just as I predicted. The others were stunned. Why is he so happy if his allies are in the dumps? If our allies cave, won't we be without cover? Yen Fu grew frantic. Steward Zhuo, when will Regent estate strike? How will we assist? Why would we assist? Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed. This is exactly what I want, for the Regent estate to attack them. If I had to deal with them personally, besides making it awkward for me, it'll be hard to get them on my side. What? Everyone was in complete shock. Zhuo Fan had no intention of repelling the Regent estate's raid, but was thinking about how to integrate his allies. Those houses were his support, with Veiled Dragon Pavilion being the very first. Selling them out like this and even turning on them would be a new low. Zhuo Fan snickered at their thoughts. You're too naive. There's no such thing as an everlasting friend in this world. Even if we beat Regent estate and the rest back and crown ourselves kings, our alliance with the houses would have run its course and we'd have a conflict of interests. They'll look at us as the new Regent estate. It's better to take this prime opportunity and deal with them, ending with a truly peaceful community. This is the way to go. Ain't that right, Miss Yun Shuang? Zhuo Fan snickered. Doesn't your clan always advocate salvation? That's just what I'm doing. Yun Shuang mulled over his words. Zhuo Fan was as despicable as it got, but changing perspective, it would be for a noble cause, for the people's future. She nodded. Lei Yuding remained silent. Only Yen Fu was fretful. Steward Zhuo, why you really don't care about them? How can I not? Am I not taking them all in with open arms instead of wiping them out? I do have a modicum of conscience, you know. Grinning, Zhuo paused. Here's how it's going to play out. Going by the intel, Regent Estate will act in 3 months, so we'll notify our allies 2 months later. Without any preparation, their 1,000-year legacy won't save them, though they can still flee. Leaves us as the only option to turn to. And since they'll be in our house, they'll know to keep their heads down. We'll use this chance to integrate them while making them eternally grateful for our help. That's just how good I am, doing them a favor. Now ain't that a twofer? Rotten! Everyone revolted. They were sickened by his methods, yet bowed in respect. Such a heartless move could only come from the bottom of a blackened blood pump of a demon like Zhuo watching the world aflame and swooping in to reap the spoils. That was his style, all right. He would profit and earn fame, more devious and sly than a fox could ever be. Killing their whole house, yet the victims would be ever grateful? That was only something a conscience-free low-life scum who felt no remorse about snuffing out a human life would do, but this was the only way for the Luo clan to come out as the biggest winner. Though Yan Fu was morose after hearing the plan, Zhuo asked. Yan Fu, why the long face? With your usual self, you never care about the next person. Steward Zhuo, could you please save Drifting Flowers Edifices? Dandan. Yan Fu hesitated. The brat must be head over heels. This thought led him to a more worrying one. Nice, I approve of a man like you. You stand up for that woman in times of danger. Not like a certain unmentionable someone, so callous and scheming even after spending time with their edifice lord. Lei Yuding slapped Yan Fu's back in praise, sneaking a glance at Zhuo. Zhuo frowned, then shut his eyes. After a sigh, he left. His voice traveled to the shocked ears of everyone. Send word to Drifting Flowers Edifices. Tell them to evacuate to Luo clan. As for the other 2 houses, 2 months later. Thank you, Steward Zhuo. Yan Fu perked up and left happy. Lei Yuding watched Zhuo lonely back, then gave Yun Shuang one last word of sincere advice. Miss Shuang, give up while you have no feelings for him. His heart belongs to someone else. Yun Shuang was puzzled. Lei Yuding sighed. I know him to be a principled man of strength and decisiveness that won't change no matter what. The only 2 times he has lost himself was in Beast King Mountain, over Ninger, and now. I reckon it's over the Drifting Flowers Edifices edifice lord. Sighing, Lei Yuding left. As I cannot move that man, I will give up. Yun Shuang shuddered. She was an ascetic holy maiden with her mind solely focused on the future. But now, she has sunk into perplexity. As Zhuo left the bunker, he went deeper into the forest. Sullen, a blue-robed person popped up in front of him. Vicious Pill King Yen Song. Elder Yen, what is it? Zhuo glanced. Yen Song was flushed from worry. Steward Zhuo, I heard you've let them use 6th-grade ingredients to make 3rd-grade pills. Yes, won't it raise their success rate? Zhuo nodded. Yen Song's heart was bleeding. But Steward Zhuo, isn't that a waste? Zhuo grinned. Elder Yen, here's the thing. In half a year, I plan on seeing 100,000 3rd-grade pills, the spirit melding pill. After so many years of being in your care, that batch of hundreds of people can only make a 3rd-grade pill at best, with a low chance of success as well. To get 100,000 pills, I can only use high-grade ingredients to boost the odds. But isn't it still a waste? Yen Song was an alchemist and felt pain seeing them go like that. Zhuo mocked, his eyebrow high. It's fine, we're rich. Zhuo left suddenly and came back with the biggest haul of the century. And the original plan to bake 10,000 pills was up to 100,000. It not only meant more work for them, but it had an even lower chance of success, so Zhuo compensated with riches. No matter how much Yen Song cherished every leaf and petal, he had to accept it. Going back, slumped and depressed, Zhuo voice was heard from afar. Oh, Elder Yen, tell Elder Li and the others to gather. We're leaving for Hell Valley soon. And those profound heaven fakers, have them come as well. Zhuo eyes glinted as his mouth curled in a twisted snicker. Chapter 421, Raiding Hell Valley. Chapter 421, Raiding Hell Valley. Whoosh. Thousands of people landed, their gaze forward. A misty valley stretched just out of reach, black and violet, sinister and creepy, a jacked-up old man walked into the thick mist with a smile. At some point, Li Jingtian looked back at Zhuo. Hell Valley sure is cautious, activating their 5th-grade array already. We'll need at least a day to break it. Which house doesn't have misgivings in these troubled times? It's all within my calculations. Zhuo went to the front and investigated the mist with a mocking gaze. As for punching through, it won't take that long. Zhuo's right eye flashed in a double golden halo, divine eye of the Void's 2nd stage, Void Annihilation. Whoosh! A vibrating ray shot out of Zhuo's eye and into Hell Valley, followed by a series of booms and bangs. The mist trembled twice before lifting completely. Li Jingtian looked at Zhuo in glee and a thumbs up. Hee, that's our steward Zhuo. Breaking an array like this is so damn convenient. When it comes to arrays relying on space, you just have to burst their bubble and the array would unravel by itself. That's what this move of mine is all about. There's nothing great about it. Zhuo casually said, but Li Jingtian sighed and sighed. If it's that easy, do you see anyone else doing it? Zhuo's every move was simple yet astonishing to anybody who witnessed his feats. Li Jingtian held Zhuo in even higher regard. The array is open, attack! Zhuo motioned. Li Jingtian led the charge, taking thousands of bone-tempering cultivators and rare profound heaven ones deeper inside. The men shouted and roared, the black cloud unleashing a frenzied raid on the valley. Swallowing it, the patrols couldn't even shout as the massive influx of people was in their face. The shock and fear was buried so deep inside that they were reduced to standing there dumbly rather than sound the alarm. Oh gods above, what the hell is this? Did the array fail for so many to come in? How did they all get in so fast? They were so out of it, they simply waited for the attackers to reap them. The only reaction out of the patrols was when spiritual weapons pierced their chests. The cries became wails as blood and gore splattered everywhere. Their bodies slumping lifeless, the assault kept on charging unimpeded. Enemy attack! A final shout rose up. Every disciple, discovering their home was invaded, and they shouted out in panic. Zhuo's timing was excellent, catching them at their lowest, finishing off the panicking Hell Valley disciples. Oh, there were some brave defenders popping every now and then to stem the tide, but they didn't even get to take out their demonic treasures as a group of elite youths surrounded them for a second, then left behind a mangled body as they moved on to the next target, the captain's inn. This assault were the stalwart guards Zhuo had Captain Peng train in the Wraith art 10 years ago. This was their first sortie of this scale, and for some, their very first kill, yet they all took to it like fish to water, showing no remorse. Unlike the wretched and excruciating torture called training, watching the friends around them fall one by one, the killing here was a breeze. Zhuo had sent them to hell to come back as fiends that not even the likes of a cruel and bloody war could shake. These kids will be the cornerstones of the house. Zhuo stood on a distant peak, watching and analyzing the situation. Li Jingtian nodded in praise. Steward Zhuo, the training of all those years has paid up, ha ha ha. Zhuo closed his eyes, tuning into the natural symphony around him, of cries, wails, pleadings, slumping bodies in their own blood, forming a sweet melody to his ears and bringing an innocent and genial smile to his lips. These sounds gave the signal for the Luo clan's expansion, Luo clan's march to rule them all with an iron fist. It was what he had hoped and aimed for. This goal of his was finally taking shape. Meanwhile, a stone gate flew open as a bloody and filthy Hell Valley disciple plopped inside, blood gurgling from his throat. The 4 elders inside cried, "What is going on out there?" Enemy attack. The disciple gave his very life uttering those 2 words. His head slumped, his life gone. All that remained were eyes filled with horror, further unnerving the men. This is absurd. Just what the hell is going on? Who are the ignorant fools that dare set foot in Hell Valley? The leader roared. Another said, "But why has there been no reaction from the array? Has it been breached?" The 4 panicked. It had to be done swiftly for these elders to not notice until now that they had been invaded. What power must have done this? The 4 released their discerning fields. Their mind's eye view had them all gasping. They saw a swarm of people shouting as they killed anyone they saw. Their 10,000 disciples couldn't muster a token of resistance against a meager few thousand. The 4's senses looked further, and noticed two men on a hill. One was in the third layer of Profound Heaven stage and was ignored, turning to the Peak Radiant stage expert next to him. The four men felt like crying. The number of Peak Radiant stage experts in Tianyu could be counted on one hand. How come one of them has come to Hell Valley? The High Venerable was in the 5th layer, while the rest were only in the 4th. Not even together could they hope to beat that freak. For God's sake, who the hell is it? Regent estate or imperial family? What did we do to have them wipe us out? One complained. High Venerable shook his head. No, Valley Lord said we're still allied with Regent estate. As for the imperial family, it's now stuck dealing with problems cropping up in the last 1,000 years. It won't come. And that Radiant stage expert's aura feels familiar. High Venerable, do you know him? The rest shouted. High Venerable shuddered and sighed. How could I ever forget? We all know him. Didn't we witness him clashing with Huang Pufeng Lei on the eve of the Luo clan's ceremony? Mad Dipper? They all cried. High Venerable nodded, depressed. What's worse, what other Profound Heaven expert do you know of who stands by his side? It's Shuofan, that demonic steward of Luo clan. We all saw him taking Li Jingtian and Huang Pufeng Lei's all-out attacks like nothing. We have no hope of winning. The other three's hearts sunk to the bottom, their faces ashen. They couldn't even handle one of them. The four old men felt like weeping. Shuofan has finally struck. We get it that you have to attack at some point, but why come to us? Wasn't the Regent estate always against you at every turn? We've already lost enough elders to you, so why come back for more? Think we're pushovers now, is that it? They all felt like heaven had beset them with the greatest grief in the world, but reality came knocking and they had to man up to the danger. High Venerable's eyes flashed with resolve. Old Third, you are the fastest. Fly to Valley Lord and report the situation. We three will buy you time. Elder brother! Old Third teared up, but High Venerable nodded with a reassuring smile. Shuofan had his eyes turned to the source of those discerning fields. Oh, for senses have picked us up. So what's taking those geezers so long to come out? Are they scared and huddled together? He, totally. Li Jingtian laughed. Chapter 422, Singing Another Tune. Chapter 422, Singing Another Tune. Whoosh. 3 figures flashed on the battlefield, ignoring the wails below and going in Shuofan's direction. Shuofan mocked. Humph, such guts to come at me instead of running. He, I think they are instead coming here to die. Li Jingtian snickered. The 3 venerables appeared in their sights. They all came with clear thoughts of becoming martyrs while holding the enemy back. But seeing the 2 savages had them shaking still, High Venerable scrutinized them, gulped, and found any word lacking in this situation. The other 2 sighed, scared before even fighting. Now what? Brother, we have to buy the Old Third some time. Recalling his mission, High Venerable took a deep breath and scrounged up the scraps of courage within to shout. Shuofan, you've gone too. Shuofan had no time to indulge in this guy's pedantic style and asked. Weren't there 4 senses? Where's the other one? High Venerable's courage got stuck in his throat. Shuofan's haughty and obnoxious attitude, like a big kahuna, lorded over them with such pressure that their heads jerked back. This was called the power gap. They were like 1st-level spiritual beasts facing a 6th-level spiritual beast, with no chance whatsoever at coming out alive. The 3 threatened to burst out in tears. They were Radiant stage cultivators, Hell Valley's venerables, but they couldn't even get a worthy death? Li Jingtian cracked up, jarring to their ears. Shuofan shook his head. Not like one missing person would make a difference. Shuofan took out a gourd and let bloodworms wiggle out. They looked downright eager to get out of that darkness they had known all their lives, ready to enjoy the big outdoors. Here's the deal. Eat it and you're one of us, becoming Luo clan's elders. Don't, and I'll just have to take you back as corpses. Shuofan was like a tyrant in his demands. The 3 jerked and panicked. Shuofan had actually come to them to offer an olive branch. With Shuofan's illustrious reputation of a savage demon, and the bad blood between the houses, they had the impression that he had come here to cull them. They were even ready to lay down their lives. So why were they so happy? To a dead man, a glimmer of hope would blossom in his heart, the instinct of self-preservation with a force that couldn't be denied. It was like jumping off a cliff and then finding out that there was an extra rope beside you. Would you capture it, or let it slip? What kind of dumb choice is that? Who's so retarded to take splattering as an upside to life? But the life veterans that the old fogies were, agreeing so quickly would net them what? A lower status. Hence, ergo and prop to hoc, High Venerable stroked his beard, held his head high and put on airs. Zhuo, if you're going headhunting, isn't it a bit thin? We are, after all, Hell Valley's elderly Qilin. Zhuo deadpanly Jingtian grinned, cracking his knuckles as a fire lit in his eyes. The three jerked like mice, waving around in panic. Let's be reasonable. Don't resort to violence. Humph, you old coots, I've already said my piece. One more or less will hardly make a difference. Yet you dare posture before me? It's to the afterlife with you. Zhuo snorted. The three jerked and bobbed their heads like cute children holding out the gourd. Zhuo watched them each swallow a bloodworm, and so, easy peasy lemon squeezy, Luo clan gained 3 more radiant stage elders. Though Zhuo didn't give a flying fig about them, they were of even less value than Yen Song, a peak profound heaven expert, but every penny counted, even if those pennies were so thin and corroded that you wanted to throw them. They all had their use sometime in the long future, and the newly baked elders. Now they were clued in as to why a die-hard expert like Li Jingtian fell in with Zhuo. Besides bloodworm's control, Zhuo's attitude left no room for dissidence. Sir Zhuo. Steward Zhuo. Zhuo's icy tone warned. High Venerable jerked and nodded. Steward Zhuo, we have another elder sneaking out to report. He is still close. Should I call him to join Steward Zhuo's camp? The other 2 bobbed. The 4 of them were a clique. With 3 of them coerced into working under Zhuo, the day would come when they'd have to kill their brother, so having the old third join the gang in one big happy family worked out smashingly. Zhuo shook his head. No need, 1 less won't make a difference. The 3 looked downcast. Steward Zhuo never gave a hoot about us. It was best to play it safe and not get on the young master's nerve. They reckoned not even Li Jingtian could take his punishment if he did, while they would downright breathe their last in the process. Better wag my tail at every order. Luo clan is a den of monsters. We are 3 radiant stage experts here, yet this young master doesn't bat an eye. Tears welled up again. The fond times of being at the top seemed so far away. You 3, the fighting isn't over. Go lend a hand. Zhuo glanced at the slaughter below, and ordered they shuttered. The fighting was one-sided to begin with, and them going would only speed things up. Zhuo was having them go for another reason, to make them kill their own disciples. A second ago they were still Hell Valley's venerables, yet in the next moment they were ordered to go kill their own clansmen. It was a little hard to take. Steward Zhuo, a man of power, should look after the ones below him. How about I try and get Hell Valley's disciples to join the Luo clan? High Venerable looked unpleadingly. Jingtian nodded. It's not a bad idea, Steward. Kill! Zhuo snapped. Your status in Luo clan is based solely on merit. With no merit, we'll be off with your head. Luo clan does not raises pansies. SSS. Zhuo clearly wanted Hell Valley dead to the last man, dog, and weed. If the 3 venerables dragged their feet any longer, they'd soon join the bloody mud. This wasn't as simple as turning coats, but was cutting off any relation with Hell Valley. And these 3 were demonic cultivators, without shame or remorse. Now that they had grasped a lifeline, would they let it get cut over something as insipid as integrity? The 3 swooped in without preamble. They had tried their best to plead the kid's case to Zhuo. It's not our fault. Zhuo wants us to kill you. Kill, brothers. Stand your ground. One tall disciple shouted, waving his sinister saber, pushing back the 5 enemies around. I've already notified the venerables. They will soon provide help. Just hold on. Whoosh. A gray robe appeared before him. The disciple shouted in joy. High Venerable, you're finally. The bright smile froze on his face as his chest gained an extra large breathing room. With blood seeping out, the High Venerable flashed to his next target. Just that this one, who had been holding on for the better part of an hour, froze on his spot as happiness was replaced with doubt. What the hell? Why is the High Venerable attacking us? In this moment of greatest doubt in his life, he lost his life. Each Venerable flitted across the battlefield, across every corner, because they were Radiant stage experts who were Hell Valley's Venerables. Once they joined the war effort, they mowed down the disciples by the scores. Zhuo Fan watched it all with a cold, critical eye and a snicker. Li Jingtian didn't get it. Steward Zhuo, why did you shoot down that old guy's proposal? In times of war, one needs to avoid surrendering before even battling. We are on the brink of clashing with Regent Estate, and I can't have unknowns left in our midst. If anything, I don't have enough bloodworms to control them all. Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed. Besides, what Luo clan lacks is experts. These 3 Coots got invited to cover this weakness. Letting them come on board with their entire clan will make this harder, maybe even capsize us. Li Jingtian shuddered inside and cupped his hands. I am in awe of Steward Zhuo's impeccable scheming. Chapter 423, Slaughter and Desecration. Chapter 423, Slaughter and Desecration. The raid on Hell Valley ended as quickly as it had begun. Valley Lord Yuanshan and the elders were visiting Regent Estate for the plans on how to deal with Drifting Flowers, Edifices, and the others. Of the 4 Venerables guarding the valley, 1 escaped, 3 turned, and the valley now looked like the aftermath of a tornado. Even with a number of 10,000, the disciples couldn't handle the incoming raid of just a few thousands of Luo clan's guards, for more than a few short hours, and were killed to the last one at the first light of a glorious red dawn. The Hell's Cape of the valley laid bare. The howls halted, the place deserted, with only streams of blood flowing down the mountains, releasing its repugnant stench, and as a true picture of hell, it couldn't do without corpses, lots and lots of them, to make a mountain. All strewn about, waiting for anyone to come give them a proper burial. Steward Zhuo, it's done. Li Jingtian glanced below at the genocide and turned a flat face to Zhuo Fan. Zhuo Fan spoke after a pause. Take the bodies back to Luo clan. We can now get on to more serious matters. Getting serious? Taking Hell Valley wasn't serious enough? Li Jingtian asked. Zhuo Fan grinned. Ha ha ha, did you think I need so many people to destroy Hell Valley? Us 2 are more than enough. Then Li Jingtian probed. Zhuo Fan said, Desecration. SSS. Li Jingtian shuddered and gasped. As Steward Zhuo, the dead are to be respected. Is your hatred with Hell Valley running so deep that you need to dig up their ancestors? Ha ha ha, you're jumping too far ahead. I never cared a whit about Hell Valley 9 years ago, and it goes double now. Besides, the most people I've killed came from this house. They should be the one hating me to the bone, not the other way around. Then why? Li Jingtian was lost. Zhuo Fan had a crafty smile. Go do your part while I do mine. Li Jingtian left because he believed Zhuo Fan's every decision was backed by reason. The Luo clan obeyed Zhuo Fan's orders to the letter, taking it like any ordinary day back at the job. Only the Hell Valley Venerables were jumpy. They had turned their backs on Hell Valley in exchange for their lives and were now forced to do such tasks. Faced with the order of digging up their ancestors, they just couldn't do it. That was where Hell Valley's elders, Valley Lords and Venerables were laid to rest. What logical explanation did the posterity have to dig them up? This is outrageous. The trio were going to see Zhuo Fan about this. Preach reason, that the 2 clans weren't enemies to such a degree. Li Jingtian saw through their intent and glared. You newbies, listen up and listen well. In Luo clan, Steward Zhuo's word is law. Any complaints you have will be met with a quick trip down under. Li Jingtian flew away. The trio sighed in helplessness, stopping in their tracks. A guest could only play a guest in a host's home. Since Steward Zhuo wants us to shame our ancestors to get our trust, we're his men. They took this task as Zhuo Fan's test of loyalty, to have them break all ties with Hell Valley. After flipping over one's granddaddy's tomb, one lost all right to call this place home. A darn shame that all their conjectures were wrong from the get-go. Zhuo Fan never cared about them, but to prove their change of heart, they worked the hardest in tomb raiding their long ancestors. Li Jingtian didn't take much to have them figured out and laughed. Steward Zhuo, these old coots will do anything to get your trust, ha ha ha. Li Jingtian mocked. Zhuo Fan had a faint smile. Nothing strange about it. Respecting one's ancestors is the righteous way. while demonic cultivators only pay attention to power. That makes digging up one's old man more common with demonic cultivators. When taking people in, one needs to keep an eye on their character. These three are expert demonic cultivators. I don't care if they bear any grudge for me after this, since all you have to do is sit on them and they'll be as meek as lambs. Steward Zhuo is a genius. That's why you sent the order to have them dig their ancestors. You never feared their resentment. You truly know the heart of a demonic cultivator. Li Jingtian laughed. Zhuo Fan shook his head. Hardly. Righteous cultivators aren't any different. Give them enough incentive and they'll do the most menial and nasty thing you ask. Just that they had to always dress it up with fancy justice. Like they do it, ha ha ha. Zhuo Fan had a strange smile, throwing Li Jingtian off on a loop. Li Jingtian's eyes lit up. Having picked up something in the corner, the Luo clan members were digging up Hell Valley's ancestors, everywhere but there. 24 people moved around the place and looked around, not doing much of anything. They were the Emperor bestowed profound heaven fakers, while the rest of the Luo clan was putting their backs into it. They didn't do so much as lift a pebble. Blast it, these guys were last in the Battle of Hell Valley, and now they're goofing off when it comes to work. See how I'll give them an earful. Li Jingtian stomped, but Zhuo Fan stopped him from going. Elderly, easy, let them go. Besides, they've completed their mission. When we return, take care of them and make sure the three newbies see it to drive fear into them. Their mission? Yep, leaking. Zhuo Fan snickered. Why else would I bring these losers along? To drag me back? Then you. Let them inform the Emperor. Zhuo Fan smiled. Even before the Luo clan rose to power, the Emperor had these guys play the moles. That's why I had Elder Lei handle them all this time, letting them report only what we wanted. After feeding them for so long, they finally have a use to report to the Emperor. What? But Steward Zhuo, why do this? Isn't the Emperor focused on you? Li Jingtian jumped in fright. Zhuo Fan was reckless. If the imperial family joined Regent estate in coming here, they were finished. Zhuo Fan could escape with his ridiculous power, but the Luo clan members would fall for sure. All the effort spent raising them for the last decade would go to waste. Zhuo Fan laughed. Elderly, that's only half true. He isn't focused just on me, but on everyone. Taking the lone road means everyone in this world is your enemy, be it in the court or outside it. Blinking, Li Jingtian was still lost, and Zhuo Fan continued. Elderly, who do you think he wants to kill right now? You, of course. He even allowed the 7 houses to use the demon purging decree. Ha ha ha, wrong. He wants to get rid of chess pieces. Me, Regent estate and Zhuge Changfeng included. How will the nation change if he only gets rid of me? Regent estate will get the houses, becoming the biggest power outside court, and a threat to him. While in court, Zhuge Changfeng will be against him every step of the way. This is something he wants to avoid at all costs. So after getting wind of what we're doing here, he will not only sweep it under the rug, but even help me. Zhuo Fan's eyes shined, his voice firm, that confused Li Jingtian even more. Help you? Indeed. Zhuo Fan smiled. I can't kick the bucket just yet, or Regent estate will have free reign. We got word that he has sent divine dragons to assist the Regent estate. To help, all right, but it's only a thinly veiled disguise to force them into fighting us. He doesn't want us to remain in a stalemate. But when I make my move, because Regent estate is stronger, they will act faster than me. At that time, the help will drag the Regent estate down, to give us room to build strength and fight only when we're on equal footing. That's the best way for the Emperor to swoop in and swallow us both. By letting those fools snitch to the Emperor, I am in fact telling him that I've made my move and plan on removing his biggest thorn, the 7 houses. This will make his day for sure, and he'll tell Fang Qiubai to hold back Regent Estate's campaign against our allies while giving me time to take these corpses back and refine them. That's all we need. Once we get these bodies ready, no one in Tianyu can stand up to us. It will be ours for the taking, ha ha ha. Cackling, Zhuo Fan's eyes shone with confidence. The Emperor had taken into account every step across the board. But what he overlooked were my killer moves. This will be his downfall. Li Jingtian stared at him befuddled, then exclaimed. Steward Zhuo, although I am rough and a burr and can't understand a word, I do sense you have victory in sight. Hee, that's great. You guys play your schemes as mere games. If I had my own faction, I'd be twisted around your fingers till I breathe my last. Chapter 424, Worse Than Death. Chapter 424, Worse Than Death. Whoosh. The Luo clan needed 10 days to dig the entire cemetery 3 feet deep, the ancestors across countless generations seeing the light of day once again. There were over 1,000 profound heaven experts, and hundreds of radiant stage experts. Zhuo Fan looked mighty pleased at the lineup. The 1,000-year legacy of the 7 houses isn't just for prop. Li Jingtian flashed before the profound heaven fakers. Take the bodies to the clan. Understood. The fakers bowed and got ready, but Li Jingtian blocked them. The 24 fakers looked at him doubtful, snickering. Li Jingtian said, That is meant for the others. I have something special in mind for you. What? Li Jingtian grinned. To add you to the pile. The men cried. Elderly, why? What did we do wrong? Leaking information, playing tricks, disobedience, to name a few. Li Jingtian stressed every word with malice. The fakers shivered, having been exposed as spies. They were on their knees in a heartbeat. Spare us, elderly, it's not what we wanted either. Boom! A mere flick sent such a violent wind that scattered them all over the place, blood and gore raining down. Humph, had you just owned up you'd still have a corpse, but you just had to caw in my ear, making me do it myself. Li Jingtian flicked, ignoring the gory sight. The Luo clan's disciples were used to their elders' methods, taking it in stride. They moved the corpses like nothing had happened, while the newbie trio gulped and panicked more as they saw the people's faces. Are these guys Azures from hell? Don't they feel anything? Their comrades in battle just got wasted, yet there's no reaction. Are they made of stone? Most of the Luo clan's disciples were around 20 years of age. But this sight had the elders shaking in fear. They had no clue how Zhuo Fan shaped them up into such cold-blooded killing machines. Watching the dead faces of the youths filled them with dread. Is this the real Luo clan? The trio rejoiced for turning sides. Even if Luo clan wouldn't get to rule the lands soon, these youths would grow into a fiendish squadron that would level the nation in the future. Compared to Luo clan's strong elders, these youths were the most frightening asset. Zhuo Fan isn't normal. Even though they were demonic cultivators themselves, they'd never thought of running their disciples through hell, to say nothing of doing it en masse. Besides fear, the trio now had respect. When looking at the distant Zhuo Fan, demonic cultivators worshipped strength. Zhuo Fan not only had power, but endless tricks, opening their eyes to the true meaning of the term demonic. You 3, listen up! A shout roused the trio out of their reverie. Li Jingtian stared at them and they lowered their heads. Escort the people carrying the bodies back to Luo clan. Don't mess up. If I find out that you've been up to no good, humph! Well, let me tell you, you've taken Steward Zhuo's bloodworm, and in 1,000 miles he can have your heads. Get the picture? Yes, totally. Don't worry, elderly, we will never slight this. The 3 bowed in unison. Li Jingtian nodded and flew back to Zhuo Fan. The elders had finally taken their betrayal seriously, not like they had a choice. Be it Zhuo Fan or Li Jingtian, both of their methods were cruel. They didn't even flinch, slaughtering their own men. Won't killing us come easier? Scared of Li Jingtian's display, the trio became meek, taking their mission as their calling. Being stuck on escort duty, Zhuo Fan took out a parchment with many lines on it, Hell Valley's domain map and its cities. There were also thousands of red dots on it. Handing it over to Li Jingtian, he said, Elderly, gather 1,000 swift men and have them dig 3 feet on these spots. Also, send word around of our purging of Hell Valley. Have those vassals of theirs crumble in fear. On it. Regardless of doubts, Li Jingtian followed his orders as always. The 1,000-man detachment spread in all directions, sweeping the Hell Valley domain in search of their targets. Zhuo Fan and Li Jingtian began their own search. Beneath a huge tree, they dug up a man-sized clay figure. It looked human yet lacked the feel of one. It also had a natural vibe to it, just like ginseng, yet this one was in the shape of a human. It had closed eyes and withered just like a plant. The more Li Jingtian looked at it, the odder he felt, like this thing in front of him was human yet wasn't. Steward Zhuo, just what is this thing? Why haven't I heard of it? Li Jingtian asked. Zhuo shook his head. It is a man, and our clan's scout. He had to be buried here for 3 to 4 years. What? Li Jingtian cried. Zhuo explained. Elderly, you understand the cruelty of wraith art. To a martial fanatic like you, it means nothing, but if those children train in it well, you know the odds of success are slim at best. Li Jingtian nodded. But do you know what happens to the rejects? Zhuo had a deep look as he regarded Li Jingtian and patted the clay figure. Yes, they turn into this, becoming our heirs. SSS. Gasping, Li Jingtian looked stunned. The clay doll had no human feel. No matter how he scanned it, it was just not human, yet it once was. Steward Zhuo said just now that it can send information, but how? Zhuo continued. On failing to cultivate the wraith art, one would die at worst, while at best they would have their meridians shattered and live the rest of their life as a vegetable. But the demonic path has a skill, myriad breaths, a soul-cultivating cultivation method. Though not without its caveats. Only the soul alone can be trained, turning the vessel into a dried husk. In time, the soul's aura will, along with the body, blend in with nature, turning into this human pillar. Don't take it for just the clay man, when in fact it has a soul stronger than a profound heaven expert's. And with its sublime feel, tuning in with nature itself, not even a radiant stage expert can pick up on it. I had the kids who failed to train in wraith art, train in this myriad breaths and become human pillars. Miss Lei and her team buried them in the 7 houses vicinity, at their doorsteps. Through their souls, they send out the information in a 1,000-meter radius. In this way, it is relayed to our scouts 100 miles away, where it is decrypted through another method and safely brought back to me. How else could we have known of Regent Estate's plan to attack our allies? That Valley Lord took his elders to Regent Estate and left his home empty for us to attack. Although Luo clan was late in setting up its intelligence network, we are without a doubt the best in Tianyu. Zhuo laughed at Li Jingtian's goony look. There is such a magical art in this world? And Steward Zhuo used it to gather intel. Looking down at the silent clay man, Li Jingtian sighed. Just who could make such a degenerate cultivation method? What's the point of having a strong soul if you'll end up like this, a frozen husk? This is a life worse than death, living in constant pain. Correct. That's just what this cultivation method offers, a life worse than death. And its creator didn't even train in it. Zhuo smiled. When that old demon created it, he had his disciples train in it to devour their souls and boost his own. Because of the soul's natural feel, it was easily assimilated. In just 1 year, the geezer entered the radiant stage from the profound heaven stage. In 3, he was in the ethereal stage. You can actually do that? Li Jingtian's sad look turned brighter, drooling at the clay man. The kid training in myriad breaths can be such a wonderful tonic. Who knew? Zhuo mocked. Elderly, let me stop you right there. There's no such thing as shortcuts in cultivation. I haven't finished telling you how the old demon met his end. His speed was fast, but the souls of his disciples were filled with anguish and despair. And because anger and despair built up so much inside of him, his soul disintegrated under the strain. If not for this, I'd have used the thousands of Luo clan human pillars for myself. Shuddering, Li Jingtian chuckled awkwardly. I should have known by now, Steward Zhuo isn't one to let any chance slip. This goes to show the method has issues. Chapter 425, Fodder is Fodder. Chapter 425, Fodder is Fodder. Zhuo took Li Jingtian across the central area of Hell Valley, picking up human pillars and spreading rumors of Hell Valley's destruction at the hands of the Luo clan. This breaking news created a wave that shook all of Tianyu. No one had seen it coming. That Luo clan would ignore everything and strike down Hell Valley without a rhyme or reason. Any Tianyu citizen worth his salt knew that the 7 houses and imperial family were in a balance, and that the imperial family would never allow for Another house war to break out the testament was Regent estate holding on to its ambitions for drifting flowers edifices for the past 1,000 years, just so that the imperial family wouldn't get an excuse. But Luo clan, in all its insufferable boldness, had ruined everything. It tore its confinement, lashed in the face of the people, and ripped Hell Valley off the face of this world. It was not just a petty house squabble either, but a show of force to the emperor. All clans had now turned their gazes to the emperor, waiting for his response. They were also praising Zhuo Fan's powder keg-like temper, thinking that lashing out at the emperor wasn't bad enough for him to go ahead and drag his clan down with him as well. This was a hefty crime deserving of total annihilation. In the face of the new house's rebellion, the people were looking forward to the emperor's response, but the average citizen had no clue how the big bosses above him were clashing. That every faction was looking at this development with eagerness. The emperor was the most excited, who should be laughing his heart out right about now. Ha ha ha! The emperor was having the time of his life reading the latest report. I didn't help him all these years for nothing after all. He finally showed himself, and not with half measures, but while striking Hell Valley off the map. He didn't even spare their ancestors' graves. Ha ha ha! Your Majesty, desecration may be a bit excessive here. Even I have to disagree with this. Zhuo at his right nodded in anger. I get the feeling that the kid is a real man sometimes, while also a degenerate rest of the time. It's all fine. All I wanted was for him to make his move. He can do anything else for all I care. The more revolting his actions, the better. It will help me a lot when going against the houses. They'll have no way to use the excuse of rewarding my loyal officials with the axe. He. How can you cherish someone who does crimes against humanity? The emperor revealed a twisted smile. Zhuo nodded. The setting the emperor had laid out was cunning and vile, unlike his candid nature as a god of war. But for the safety of the people, on eliminating these variables, he would fall in line and obey the orders. Your Majesty, when will I act? No rush, let them squirm around a little longer. The emperor sighed. However, I do need to show the people my stance. The emperor yelled at the servants at the door. Draft my orders. The 8th Nobel House, Wingay City's Luo clan, is accused of manslaughter and desecration, of most heinous crimes. By my order, the clans are to root out this evil and bring me their head. The reward shall be the title of noble house. Understood. The servant left. Zhuo face twitched and he sighed inside. Your Majesty, that right there is pure rubbish. If it were that easy to get Zhuo Fan's head, he'd have taken it ages ago, though the edict still had its perks. Giving Zhuo's army the righteous reason to purge him, while the Luo clan and Regent estate would be duking it out, Zhuo's army would swoop in to obliterate the former, only to destroy them all. The emperor was aiming for this, but thinking of his godson, Zhuo's heart couldn't bear it. Meanwhile, Yu Ming was at the second prince's new house, waiting on Valley Lord's orders. Second prince stormed into the room. Something huge has just happened, Sir Yu Ming. Second prince, easy. There's a solution to everything if you keep your calm. Yu Ming waved. Second prince paused to cool his jets and bowed. Sir Yu Ming, you are truly cut from a different cloth. You have my complete admiration. I have always been on edge and can't calm down. But I still need Sir's help in the future. Second prince is too kind. Yu Ming nodded and asked, Now, Your Highness, just what happened to get you so flustered? Nothing much, just that Zhuo Fan raised Hell Valley. What? Yu Ming was outraged. What did you say? Where's the report? Here. Second prince took out the paper from his sleeve. Sir Yu Ming is so open-minded, tranquil in the face of anything. Even as your own home lays in ruins, you don't bat an eyelid. I am truly amazed. God damn it, why so long-winded? Reading the paper turned Yu Ming's face pale. The paper fell to the floor as he stood there frozen. Slaughtered and desecrated? Zhuo Fan, are you that cruel? Yu Ming's eyes trembled, his body rigid, and only his mouth moved. Zhuo Fan, you rotten lowlife! He forced me! Sir Yu Ming, is everything all right? Second prince asked, sighing. Yu Ming resumed calmly and said, Your Highness, I have some matters to attend to. I will be gone for a few months. Please don't act rashly in my absence, goodbye. Yu Ming left right away with hurried steps. His eyes flashing, he had to plan his escape carefully. Only the second prince was left behind, hanging and speechless. At the same time, in a valley 100 miles away from Drifting Flowers City, many experts were gathered, even the heads of many powerful clans. Bam! Yuan Shan slammed the jade slip into the ground. This is outrageous, Shuafan! I will have you ripped to pieces! What happened, Valley Lord Yu? Huangpu Tianyuan asked. Yuan Shan panted and cupped his hands, for the first time ever, tears trailing down his face. Estate Lord Huangpu, you are the head of houses. You must give Hell Valley justice. I just got word from the third Venerable that Shuafan along with Li Jingtian has raided Hell Valley. The other 3 Venerables fought back, but I fear they have fallen as well. Please, Estate Lord Huangpu, send your men to assist. What? Huangpu Tianyuan was stunned. We haven't even begun our attack on Drifting Flowers Edifices, and yet he struck Hell Valley? Yuan Shan gave a mournful nod. The Hell Valley's elders were enraged. Turning to Huangpu Tianyuan with expectant looks, they all looked on with hope that their boss would give his support. Huangpu Tianyuan only stroked his beard. Sir Lum, what do you think? Hell Valley is our ally. Valley Lord Yu is our close friend. Of course we'd go out on a limb to help him. Ling Wuchang shouted. Hell Valley's contingent perked up, looking at him with gratitude. Huangpu Tianyuan looked at him dazed though. Since when did the shrewd Sir Ling turn righteous? But Ling Wuchang showed his true color soon enough. Be that as it may, Ling Wuchang sighed. Shuafan's treachery knows no bounds. Going without a plan will like playing into his hand. We have to avoid that. Valley Lord Yu, rest assured, we will avenge your home. But we are now on the eve of striking Drifting Flowers City. We must first handle Drifting Flowers Edifices. Huangpu Tianyuan nodded. Drifting Flowers Edifices is in cahoots with Shuafan. Taking them out will soothe Valley Lord Yu's anger. Everyone nodded. Pilking Hall and Merrywoods enjoyed the show, sneering all the time at Hell Valley. Yuan Shan was fuming, his face red. He flipped around and shouted. Sir Fang, you are His Majesty's reinforcements to quell Shuafan. That wretched servant is running amok in Hell Valley and you are just going to do nothing? Shuafan's mind is a maze and his actions a mystery. Sir Ling is right. We need to take it one step at a time. First comes Drifting Flowers Edifices, sweeping clean all places he might turn to when he is desperate. Then we will go after him when he has no place to hide. Valley Lord Yu, you don't need to worry. Fan Qiubai spoke. He had long since received the Emperor's order to have Shuafan and Regent Estate mind their own business for a while longer. Of course he dragged this out as well instead of pitting the two ahead of schedule. As for the fate of Cannon Fodder dubbed Hell Valley, either cared a whit. Fodder was fodder. They'd all die sooner or later. The hegemony for the world would ultimately come down between Shuafan and Regent Estate. The rest couldn't affect it one damn bit. Yuan Shan saw the open taunts, and his anger reached boiling point, yet he was unable to do a thing. Chapter 426, Drifting Flowers Edifices Siege. Chapter 426, Drifting Flowers Edifices Siege. In Drifting Flowers Edifices' main hall, Grandmother took the seat of honor with a frown. On each side of her were the 15 overseers. Bang! Grandmother threw a sending jade on the table and sighed. This is the Luo clan's 10th message. And like the ones before it, they all warn of a great disaster, that we need to retreat to Luo clan. What do you all say? Humph, that vile ingrate, our edifice lord sacrificed so much for him, and this is how he repays us? By stealing our most sacred treasure. Who'd believe his messages? I bet it's just another one of his sick, twisted schemes. Peony Overseer was the first to show a negative attitude, her anger having reached a boiling point. Iris Overseer nodded after a pause, yet the frown never left her. Nevertheless, even with Shuafan's insidious mind putting us on guard on every one of his actions, it's better to believe the worst than be skeptical and suffer because of it later. Taking up arms won't harm us in the least. I have already activated our defenses, for any eventuality. Grandmother nodded. As for the credibility of these jades, it remains to be seen. Boom! A rumbling sound came from outside, rattling their ears. All overseers looked on in shock. Grandmother shook and turned downcast. Xiao Dandan burst in as fast as her legs could carry her. Oh God, enemy attack! Dandan, speak clearly! Peony overseer, said Xiao Dandan, gasped a few times. Drifting Flowers City's guarding array is under attack. Senior sisters are now inside to defend it. What do we do, grandmother, master? We're really under attack? The overseers were incredulous. Turning to the jade slip with regret, Zhuo Fan meant nothing more than to simply inform them by sending those messages. Grandmother, the 15 pairs of eyes turned to her. She was feeling as much regret as the next woman there, but she couldn't let it show. As the leader, everyone believed her words were always right. Even when wrong, any doubt would cripple their morale and the battle would be half lost from the start. Grandmother flashed her eyes with steel determination, conveying confidence in this great crisis, confidence she didn't have. Iris, ask the 3 venerables to come. Peony, send jade slips to our allies for help. The rest of you, follow me to meet the enemy. Let's see which bastards dare challenge Drifting Flowers' edifices. Grandmother hammered her staff as she made her way forward with dignity and strength. The others regained their calm and flew out of Drifting Flowers City. Iris and Peony set about their tasks. Only Xiao Dandan was left there pouting. Didn't he tell us again and again that this'll happen? Now even if you do believe him, we are cut off and can't run. Dandan, what are you mumbling? Who taught you to talk of your betters behind their back? Peony overseer glared. Xiao Dandan retorted. What talking back? It's the truth. We got a clear warning for 3 months that this was going to come. You know nothing! Peony overseer barked. Don't you know who Zhuo Fan is? He even stole Bodhi Root from us. How can we trust him? How can we be sure it's not another trick? But it was Yan Fu who told me. He'd never lie to me. Xiao Dandan was stubborn. Peony overseer shook her head. You brat, Yan Fu was never good to begin with. Now that he's with Zhuo Fan, he's even worse. No matter how sincere, he needs to first prove that Zhuo Fan had nothing to do with it, that it wasn't false. You think I don't know where you'd been running to these months? Besides bringing the 10 sending jades, you still have 28 more love letters from that kid. How can a pure girl like you be like this? Have you no shame? Xiao Dandan blushed and huffed. That's beside the point. They have been giving us real information all along, yet you always second-guess his intentions, thinking there's a plot where there's nothing. You silly girl, you've been growing bolder, I see, to talk back to your master. My lessons haven't been thorough enough, it seems. Peony Overseer was at a loss and blushed with shame and anger. Xiao Dandan ran away with Peony Overseer on her heels. Their mission forgotten. Grandmother took her overseers outside and gasped at the sea of black. Leading the army were Hell Valley, Merry Woods and Pill King Hall's lords. Against such a lineup, even with the home field advantage, Drifting Flowers' edifices array would be under immense strain. Gulping, Grandmother grew anxious. The overseers were scared out of their minds, shaking all over. Yuanshan's side laughed. Grandmother, we 3 vowed to take Drifting Flowers' edifices. Surrender now. Cease these needless hostilities and there won't be casualties. Yuanshan held his head high. Grandmother squinted. Valley Lord Yu, what's the meaning of this? Have you forgotten Tianyu's laws? The 7 houses are banned from engaging in civil war. Marching towards Drifting Flowers' edifices with such fanfare, His Majesty will hear of this and will exact punishment. Grandmother's speech was full of dignity and logic, but Yuanshan laughed harder, his mocking gaze thicker. He, old hag, why else would we be here in the first place? It's all by His Majesty's leave. Yuanshan shouted. There's no one out there coming to help a bunch of broads, ha ha ha. What? Grandmother was incredulous. Keeping the 7 houses in check had been the imperial family's policy since the dawn of the empire. How can they change tactics, letting the land devolve into anarchy? Impossible! Grandmother refuted. What crime could we possibly have committed for His Majesty to treat us so, to let you attack us? Ha ha ha, old crone, don't play dumb. Who doesn't know of your ties with that wretched spawn Zhuo Fan? With the mess he made in the Imperial Palace, he is the nation's #1 criminal. And with your connections, you aren't far behind either. At Yuanshan's cackle, grandmother shuddered and sighed. Zhuo Fan raised us and now he crushes us. While Zhuo Fan was on his power trip, Drifting Flowers Edifices had never been safer. But now that Zhuo Fan had become the national enemy, the others used this excuse to get to Drifting Flowers Edifices. Their 1,000-year-old legacy would lay in ruins. Was it truly the right choice to have an alliance with Zhuo Fan? Much good did that thinking do at this point. All they could do was buy time for their allies to come help. Grandmother flew up and shouted, "If you want to destroy Drifting Flowers Edifices, then come! I will face any contenders! Ha ha ha, I've heard so much of the Lady of Steel and have long wished to try you out!" Yuan Shan flew forth, covered in gray energy, letting out eerie cries of infants. Hatred and grief filled the sky, sweeping grandmother in its clutches. With the shrieks of agony, malignant specters made of anguish bit at her Hell Valley's profound ranked martial art, Demonic Face Seal. The hearts of the overseers were in their throats. Demonic Face Seal was a soul attack, creepy and powerful. Grandmother had no power against it. Yuan Shan laughed, finding victory in his grasp. It was then that a glaring white light flashed. The howling sea of agonized faces came to a halt as ice spread all over them. They cracked to pieces, pulverizing the demonic faces, leaving room for grandmother to walk out and send Yuan Shan flying with a palm to the chest and leaving behind a scarlet trail. Chapter 427 Crisis. Chapter 427 Crisis. Yuan Shan spat out frozen blood as he wobbled to his feet. Drifting Flowers Edifices profound ranked martial art, heavenly austere ice palm, trained to such perfection it can even freeze my demonic face seal. Congratulations, Lady of Steel. Valley Lord Yu's demonic face seal is too exquisite even for me to take lightly. It's all thanks to decades upon decades of hard work that I had the honor to match Valley Lord Yu's skills. With how grandmother wheezed, looking thin and pale, she wasn't faring much better either. Yuan Shan cupped his hands and withdrew. Yan Bagong laughed, stepping in next. Ha ha ha, grandmother has aged with grace, coming above even the likes of Valley Lord Yu. How about you humor this old man next? Yan Bagong, you lowlife, you just want to take advantage of grandmother having fought a hard battle and being exhausted. You're just picking on the weak. One overseer cursed. Yan Bagong took it all in stride and showed a light smile. That's a little off, my lady. We 3 houses join hands just so we don't have to go one-on-one. How does picking on the weak fit here? We just want to duel with grandmother right now for a bit instead of starting the assault. We're doing you all a favor. Yan Bagong justified himself, leaving the overseers speechless. Grandmother let out a cold laughter, her eyes icy. Yan Bagong implied he was giving Drifting Flowers Edifices leeway, but one thing remained unchanged. In an all-out war, Drifting Flowers Edifices had the disadvantage, but it wasn't going to fall that easily, not when having a defensive array while grandmother was the pillar of Drifting Flowers Edifices. With her being dead, the battle would already be over. Even with the array, when there was no one to direct it, defeat was certain. Yan Bagong and company wanted to cut the head, and the body would follow. These duels were in fact in their complete favor. The astute grandmother picked up on their little trick right away, but she accepted anyway. The 3 lords' defeat would have the same drastic effect on the enemy as her death. It went without saying that it would work wonders in cutting Drifting Flowers Edifices' casualties short, and would stall for their allies' support. It really was the best choice in Drifting Flowers Edifices' current situation. No matter how weak grandmother felt, she had to push on. Just that revulsion at Yan Bagong preaching righteousness always came to her. Both sides are fighting a battle of minds, for their own interest, yet you want to look cool doing it? Yan Bagong, come! Grandmother had an icy air and a smirk. Yan Bagong smiled there, calm and carefree. But the next second he turned savage, launching Rainbow Cloud Palm with both hands, Pill King Hall's signature move. Grandmother knew it was coming and had a shield of ice around her as she went on the offensive. The poison was acidic, but it wouldn't eat through the clear ice that fast. It took no longer than a flash for grandmother to pass through the heavy poison cloud and reach Yan Bagong with a palm strike. Watching the icy palm inching towards his chest, Yan Bagong's heart tensed. His fate would soon be the same as Yuan Shan. Before him he might be on edge at the incoming ice, but not panicked. He even had time to show off a creepy smile. Grandmother had a bad feeling about this whoosh. From the thick fog, one man shot in front of Yen Bagong and punched. It was Mary Woods' Lin Ruffin. "You!" Grandmother cried. Lin Ruffin grinned. "One and only!" The punch and palm collided. Lin Ruffing's savage power pierced the ice on her palm and wreaked havoc in her body with a sharp sound. The icy shield collapsed and 10 fierce blows hammered her body, sending her flying. She shot through the poison cloud and into the ground. The blood she spat tinted the ground in eerie colors. This was the worst outcome. Grandmother was heavily wounded and poisoned by the rainbow cloud palm. Puffing out more blood, Grandmother glared at the two above with endless hatred. "Mary Wood's profound ranked martial art, Empty Cloud Art. Our Empty Cloud Art is based on speed, splitting an attack into several blows to tear up your insides. The more advanced the cultivation, the more splits. You may have ice protecting you, but not even that can block all of them. I have managed to unleash 20 splits, ha ha ha." Lin Ruffin laughed in pride. The overseers rushed at Grandmother's side, giving a hateful glare at the two lords above. "You no good 2-bit filthy scumbags. Is that how a house lord acts nowadays, stabbing people in the back? Oh no no no. Didn't I say that already? This is a coalition of 3 houses. Anything goes. Besides, us two work great together, and we haven't even surrounded you with our forces yet. What's wrong with that?" Yen Bagong snickered. The women's eyes spat fire from all the rage boiling in their hearts. Grandmother panted, finding it hard to even speak. "Take me back, now." Yen Bagong snickered. "You won't get away that easy. Attack. Their head is down. It's the perfect moment to take them all down." "Understood." The sea of people came in like a tide. The overseers rushed to get Grandmother back to safety. But Yen Bagong's team of 2 was faster, making a sinister strike at the retreating Grandmother. Take her out of the picture, and the drifting flowers edifices would follow. The other women rushed to defend her. The overseers stood no chance in front of 2 house lords. They were dead in one blow, unable to stall 1 second. 2 more turned back to attack, but Grandmother stopped them. "Grandmother!" They all cried. Grandmother sighed. "I won't be able to survive this, but you are the future of drifting flowers edifices. Go, withdraw. Let Iris become the edifice lord. I will hold them off." "Grandmother, no!" They all teared up in sadness. Grandmother barked. "You bunch of ignorant girls, how can you not see what's in front? I have to hold them back or we'll all die. Go back and wait. We will get our chance when support comes." Grandmother trailed off. Not even she was certain that drifting flowers edifices could come out alive, but held on to hope still. The women saw the steel gaze of Grandmother, and despite their distress, they nodded and withdrew to drifting flowers city. Grandmother showed a clear smile, watching them go. "Silly girls, take care. Ha ha ha, Chubijuan, you should care about yourself first." The 2 closed in, Yen Bagong's creepy voice reaching her ears. Grandmother had a cold smile, her mind set. "Humph, Yen Bagong, Lin Ruffin, as long as there's one breath left in this body, you will never tread 1 step in drifting flowers edifices." Grandmother flew high at the 2. The 2 met her fearlessly. She had the Lady of Steel moniker, but with how downtrodden she was from that last blow, they wouldn't qualify as house lords if they backed off now. With a bang, the 2 sides clashed. The shock wave turned everything around them to dust. The 2 kept on attacking, even as Grandmother was spurting blood and lost consciousness. Her frail and damaged body slammed into the ground. "Grandmother!" The women shed tears of pain. At their helplessness and their weakness, Yen Bagong walked over and struck again. "Ha ha ha, the great Lady of Steel's head is mine for the taking." Something shot straight for Yen Bagong. He squinted and looked shocked, killing with intent. A radiant stage expert. Chapter 428, 3 Venerables. Chapter 428, 3 Venerables. Bam! Yen Bagong panicked at the incoming soul attack and put up his defenses. Despite being a mere profound heaven cultivator with no chance against a radiant stage expert, the intent left the 2 groaning. Yen Bagong even flew away, leaving a trail of blood in the air. Lin Ruffing stopped dead in his tracks, trembling and rooted Russell. 3 graceful figures floated between grandmother and the lords, drifting flowers, edifices, venerables. Looking back at the unconscious grandmother, one shouted, "What are you waiting for? Get her out of here!" "Understood." The overseer's morale soared, flying away with grandmother. They were at ease knowing the venerables had their back. The tide of people came to a halt as well. "Humph, you lowlifes dare set your eyes on drifting flowers, edifices?" The venerables faced the thousands with angry rebuke. Yen Bagong barely stood his ground, pale and weary, yet not a trace of fear. He, big words for just a bunch of broads. If not for the imperial family's help in the past millennium, you'd never see today. Don't think for a second that being in the radiant stage will change anything. Which of us houses doesn't have its own venerables? Now more than ever, when we have the great Regent estate taking the lead. Ha ha ha, we are the ones behind this siege. Laughter shook the area. To everyone's shock, an astonishing power surged as a grizzled old man showed his face, his eyes flashing like lightning. His face excited, each of his breath felt like the world was sucked away, then unleashed back as a storm. The 3 venerables squinted and shouted in shock. "Huangpu Fonglei! My purpose here is to deal with you 3. His head held impossibly high. Huangpu Fonglei flicked his hand with disdain. "I am not one to pick on women, so I'll take you all on." Twitching, the 3 turned grave. Despite living in seclusion, they had all heard of Huangpu Fonglai's name. He was a rare peak radiant stage expert in this world. The ones capable of fighting him in Tianyu could be counted on one hand. Sure, there were 3 of them, but the strongest was only in the 5th layer. It'd hardly make a difference. But as drifting flowers, edifices, venerables, having enjoyed its resources for decades, they weren't about to flee in the face of danger. They were women, but they were principled, even more so than some men. With a deep breath to steady their nerves, one showed her will to fight or die trying. "Sisters, today's the day we will fight for justice. Ha ha ha, it won't matter. We've lived together and we'll die together. A fitting end for our 100-year friendship." The 2 laughed. The first smiled, having reached an understanding. All flew at the mighty Huangpu Fonglei with not 1 ounce of fear. Huangpu Fonglei praised. "I've heard of drifting flowers, edifices, women being staunch, and now I see it for myself. You are far better than some male wolves drunk on power." Huangpu Fonglei continued. "I will give you 3 free shots at me before I attack, seeing as I'm so kind. Begin." "Humph, thank you for your consideration, sir. We're happy to accept." Huangpu Fonglei was tough, and the 3 were not fools. If the guy gave them 3 free moves, they weren't about to refuse. They had a non-zero chance, impossible odds, true, but there was always the luck of the moment. The least they could manage was injure him, stopping him from breaking the array. It would give some value to their deaths, knowing to have returned the kindness drifting flowers, edifices offered them for so long. With 1 less warrior on the enemy's side, drifting flowers, edifices' chances would rise. The 3 turned solemn, each taking a direction and making a sign. The wind picked up and the yuan qi surged. A white mist formed between the 3, linking them and feeding off each other's strengths. To their very peak of power, an ice phoenix took form between them, 300 meters large and shrieking. Huangpu Fenglei's brow shuddered. "Combination martial art? I never knew you'd be so in tune with each other, of the same heart and mind. Humph, who needs your praise? You should take this instead." The leader of the 3 scoffed, and pushed out her palms. The other 2 matched her perfectly. Shriek. The ice phoenix unleashed its full killing intent on Huangpu Fonglei as it charged. All in its wake turned to ice, even air itself. Yen Bagong cried out in shock. Radiant stage experts weren't without their fame. While a combined attack from 3 went farther. Such an attack would wipe them out, peak profound heaven experts, along with half the people there. Forget about fighting drifting flowers, edifices at this point. It was a miracle if the army stuck together. Yen Bagong and Lin Ruffing exchanged a glance, and cold sweat ran down their spines. Thank the Maker they had Regent estate on their side. With High Venerable's personal interference, the casualties would have been horrible without him. These broads sure are tough. Unlike everyone's panicked look, Huangpu Fonglei praised and looked on with a calm expression. When the ice phoenix got near him, he waved. "Humph, this skill sure is dangerous, but not to me. Huang Pufonglei clutched the ice phoenix's neck and squeezed with a bang. The phoenix crumbled into glittering ice. Huang Pufonglei grinned. First, the ice fragments released an unbearable coldness, unleashing a frosty wave straight towards Huang Pufonglei. It swallowed him in its midst, leaving behind nothing, not even Huang Pufenglei's body, just a sparkling human-sized ice sculpture. "Hi, Venerable!" Everyone cried with Huang Pufonglei getting done in from the three hags' attack. How would the rest fare? Amidst their anxiety and fear, cracking sounds revealed the breaking of the sculpture with a bang to finish. Huang Pufonglei was revealed in all his glory with a manic laughter. Who knew such an attack hit an even stronger one? Ha ha ha, how amazing! Not that it did any good to the likes of me. High Venerable is invincible. The crowd cheered. Whooshes sounded as the three Venerables flashed right in Huang Pufenglei's face. Huang Pufonglei, we knew this attack won't work, so we prepared a little something. The leader shouted. The other two also yelled, and their fingers formed a sword. Profound ranked martial art, Dark Heaven Finger. Huang Pufonglei gave his all to resist this time around. But the ice and coldness from before had him slowed down, giving the three Venerables enough time for their sword fingers to hit his pressure points with the sound of freezing water. Huang Pufonglei felt icy coldness invade his body and freeze his veins. He was shocked that Yuan Qi could hardly stop it. This can't be. With his power, not even these three together could freeze him, yet now. Huang Pufonglei turned grave, and doubt sprouted. His fists clenched and body shuddered.